The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be discussing the finals of the New Japan Cup USA, Wrestling Satsuma, Kuni and Wrestling Dontaku, answering your questions and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Wrestling Tee store, wrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com. With features like dark mode, improved translation to layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. Doing better than I was last week. I got the gimmick in my arm. Second dose today.
Got that 5G running through your veins.
There's this Ultimate Warrior promo where he's like, all the blood of the warriors floating through the veins. That's how I feel like. Yeah, I got the blood of Fauci and all the warriors floating through the veins. My arm's kind of sore. They put us in this observation room, and this crazy observer dude who gave us this spiel. He's like, you gotta drink water tonight, okay? And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 bottles. I'm talking 8, 9, 10 bottles of water. And he's like, bro, he's cutting a full promo in the middle of the observation room. He's like, some of you are looking at me with the crazy eyes saying, oh, I'm going to have to get up and pee a bunch. Well, that's what your body's supposed to do. That's a good thing.
Oh,
so I got this jug of water here because that guy was really intense, and he seems like someone I might need to listen to. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I get, I think next Friday, I think I'm going to get number 2 from me, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, my birthday's coming up. We going out.
Gonna celebrate.
Yeah.
Another year of the young boy.
Wait, if you have a second dose Friday. Oh, shit. Let me see. So the 7th?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's supposed to be 2 weeks before it's full efficacy, and 15th is my birthday. I don't know, man. I don't know what you're gonna do.
I'll mask.
We'll see.
I'll mask up.
But yeah, man, I'm doing all right. I mean, I'm doing good. I mean, New Japan's in the toilet, but I'm doing good. Bro, we're in another state of emergency. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the news, kind of what's going on in Japan with COVID and the future of some of the shows coming up here.
Man, yeah, this is crazy. So, what do you want to talk about this week? This is one of the this week's kind of crazy. Like some stuff happened, but it doesn't feel like a lot happened really.
Yeah, so let's start with the New Japan Cup USA. We had the finals this past Friday on NJPW World. So the show opened up. We had Team Filthy, Chris Dickinson, and J.R. Kratos defeating the team of Clark Connors and TJP. Very interesting story in this matchup here. Obviously, you have Team Filthy. There's been some dissension in the ranks there with Chris Dickinson and where his alliances truly lie. And we saw some miscommunications in that match with him and J.R. Kratos. But there's also some miscommunication between Clark Connors and TJP, team that teamed up in the Super Junior Tag League a couple years ago, so that they're used to teaming together. But they've had some miscommunication, which actually cost them the win here. And Team Filthy gets the win.
Yeah, when the match started and Clark Connors and TJP were making their way out, TJP like stopped in the entranceway and like put his fist out like he was going to get like a fist bump from his partner, and then Clark Connors just ran past him, as he's prone to do, and TJP just like kind of looked in the camera like, oh well,
Yeah.
And I didn't think that was a story. I thought that was a shoot. I was just like, no one likes TJP. It makes total sense that this dude would run off on him. Like, I do the same shit. Like, fuck. He's probably pissed he has to work with this guy. Like,
oh man, yeah. Who knows? Maybe this turned into a shoot, and there was some real miscommunication between these two here.
Nah, I think it's the story. Once the match started laying out, I was like, oh, okay, so this shit's all intentional. But they got me at first because it made all the sense in the world to me. Like, I don't like TJP like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But interesting match. I mean, two teams, both teams having miscommunication. Dickinson and Kratos, end up being victorious, and a little tease of things to come with both groups. I mean, the match was fine, 11 minutes. I don't have much more really to break down there except for just good opening tag match.
Yeah. So then, middle of the card, we have our good friend Rocky Romero defeating the debuting Wheeler Yuta. So a really good technical matchup here.
Yeah, it was good to see Wheeler Yuta kind of introduced to the New Japan audience. He's kind of made some headway in MLW, Ring of Honor, the Independents, the past couple of years. So very interesting to kind of see him here. And his reputation kind of preceded him as far as mat skills go. Rocky Romero can hang on the mat with pretty much anybody. And so these guys went out there, had a really good, compelling mat-based match. And they even discussed on the program, how Rocky has intentions to get back in contention for the junior title. And so even though this is more of an open weight show in general, the fact that both these guys fall under the junior weight limit, it's a de facto junior match. And him picking up a win over a strong, contender like Wheeler Yuta kind of speaks well for Rocky. So I thought it was a good showcase debut for Wheeler Yuta, and look forward to seeing if they keep using him going forward. But I think they should.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see more of Wheeler Yuta. I think he's improved a lot over the last couple of years. Again, you mentioned great, mat wrestling here between him and Rocky Romero. Rocky is showing why he's so good and he can still go. And it'd be interesting to see if Rocky ever does get over back to Japan and gets another title shot.
Interesting thing, too, is how versatile both of these guys are. So, I mean, Wheeler Yuta has in the past, just very recently, become more well known for his mat skills. But, I mean, you'd mentioned in the past how prior to that he was sort of your prototypical high flyer. And he kind of showcased a little bit of that here, in that he can do a little bit of everything. And do it in a way to where he seems pretty competent in all areas, which that's kind of Rocky's wheelhouse too. So kind of interesting in that sense too.
Yeah, I wonder if a protege storyline can come out here, since Rocky's lost Danny Limelight as a protege. Potentially can get
since Rocky's a dad.
Yeah, he could take a young Wheeler Yuta under his wing here.
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty much it. So, we'll see where that goes from here. The main event, though, the match everybody came for, the New Japan Strong Openweight title match, the New Japan Cup USA 2021 finals match. we saw Tom Lawler defeating Brody King by referee's decision, 20 minutes, 5 seconds. We have a new champion.
Yeah, this was a really, really good main event here. I thought both of these guys worked really well together. Obviously, Filthy Tom, a lot of his game plan was working over the legs of Brody King. He even tried to pull out, the Bret Hart figure 4 on the ring post at one point. And then Brody was just trying to overpower Lawler. Big lariats, big suplexes. Yes, a great matchup here. Great main event here. And like you mentioned, Filthy Tom towards the end of the matchup, a little bit of disrespect for towards the LA Dojo and Shibata. He puts Brody in the sleeper, sits him down, hits a PK, gets him back in the sleeper. Brody fails to respond. He goes out, and the ref has no choice but to stop the match and award Filthy Tom Lawler the win.
Yeah, this match was interesting. Very, very stiff, hard-hitting affair, like you kind of laid out there, and it sort of had that professional fight feel to it, just the presentation of it all. It even kind of reminded me of like how they've presented some of the bigger title matches in, like, say, MLW, for instance.
Yeah.
Kind of had that feel to it. But even though the match was good, I don't know. I felt like I was a little underwhelmed. Like, when it was all over, I definitely remember feeling like, yeah, that was good. But aside from the finish, there's not a lot that I really remember. I do remember that there was like a Gonzo bomb. But there wasn't too much that like really stood out to me. The main thing though is just the tension all throughout the match and realizing that either one of these guys could win at any given moment, and it would have been plausible with the way that they've kind of positioned both of them in the company. But yeah, once Tom got the rear naked choke locked in, I kind of expected Brody King to get out of it, and I know that his.
He did Hulk up at first. He was like he fired up and then he went back out.
Yeah, and he went out, which like I've seen that finish a few times, and it's good, I guess, because it's got a sense of realism to it. But I was just a little surprised. I know that Tom was working Brody's legs and took his base out from him, so it makes a lot of logical sense. Mm-hmm. But I felt like the match would have got to another level had Brody kind of powered out of that, and like they'd kind of gone to a different finish. But once he went limp, I was like, oh shit, like he's out, like they're gonna stop this thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, and I mean, I guess it kind of depends. Like you'd think with my interest in shoot fighting and MMA, I'd kind of really dig this finish, and in a sense I did. But in another sense, I don't know that I felt like the finish was about to happen until it finally did. I still had that pro wrestling kind of vision where I was like, I think he's about to power out of this. This is a really good near fall is what I thought was happening. I didn't realize that was going to be it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's firing up. Yeah, I thought he was going to get up, but then he just went out. But I like the finish. I like this match a lot. I really like Tom's work in here. He did a lot of great like transitions into whole submission. There's one point he busted out the old Bryan Danielson cat mutilation and turned it.
Oh yeah, he did. That's right.
Yeah, turned it into a crossface and then transitioned that into a rear naked. So it was a lot of great slick transitions that Filthy Tom was doing here.
Yeah, I mean, he came in with the targeted game plan, and he really wanted to keep it mat based and submission based. And on the flip side, you had Brody King working power moves and power strikes, and so. It was kind of a style difference between the two of them. I did sort of expect them to come out with their different groups.
Yeah.
Or, not that I was advocating for it, but I was almost kind of in the back of my mind expecting maybe some sort of, I don't want to say interference, but involvement from outside parties. And we never got that, which I guess is good. We got a clean, straight, match, but, yeah, Tom Lawler, the first ever New Japan strong openweight champion.
Yeah, so post-match, we have Team Filthy coming out, Chris Dickinson, JR Kratos, because Danny Limelight's too busy in Jacksonville right now. But they come out and celebrate with Filthy Tom. He gets awarded with the New Japan Cup USA trophy Then he is handed the strong openweight championship, and he cuts a promo and he says I know what's about to happen. This is a part of the show where somebody walks out and challenges me, and so he's waiting for anybody to answer the call. Nobody came out. His music plays, but then Dickinson grabs the mic and says, you're looking for somebody to challenge you. Your next challenger's right here in front of you. And Dickinson challenges Filthy Tom for the title, and J.R. Kratos looks on puzzled, and it looks like we have our first title program here, Filthy Tom Lawler against Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson.
I had a couple criticisms here. The first thing, I thought it was interesting when Tom Lawler kind of got insidery and referenced the formula of how people come out and place challenges, and that was fine. And then they kind of focused, heavily on the backstage and everything like that. And so I was like, okay, is someone going to come out? Is it going to be a Team Filthy member? Blah, 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 So there's some tension there. But then once they cut back to the ring and they went to Chris, I felt like it was just sort of weird pacing and timing with the whole thing. And it felt sort of kind of anticlimactic. It was kind of awkward, the way he placed the challenge and everything. I was still excited for it. There was a part of me that sort of thought that it wouldn't be Dickinson, though, that was like too on the nose. And I kind of thought it might be J.R. Kratos.
That would have been an interesting twist.
Especially since the camera was focused on the two of them and you're waiting and waiting and he's not challenging and you're waiting and Kratos is out of the camera. Like my mind was thinking like he blasts him. You know what I mean? Like fucking just like lays him out and he's like, the challenger is me. And so I thought that was like going to be the twist. I was like waiting for it, but no, Dickinson, lays out the challenge, says, you don't have to wait. It's going to be me. And, Filthy's like, you want to do this right now? Like now, and he's like, yeah. So, Team Filthy seems to be in disarray at this point. I mean, you got, your number 2 guy challenging publicly in front of everybody. And, Kratos just seems beside himself by this, seeming betrayal, and nobody knows where the fuck, Danny Limelight is. Like, I don't know. This group's...
He's wrestling Kenny Omega on Elevation.
I kind of like the Team Filthy t-shirts, but like, I don't even know if I can invest and buy one of those. Like the whole lineup's going to be different, 4 weeks from now. So,
right. Filthy Tom, I have to bring in some of his MLW Filthy Tom, Dom Guarini and Kevin Koo.
Yeah. What's their tag team name? Violence Forever?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like those guys. The other thing too is I'm not sure that Chris Dickinson should be challenging for the title. It's like, I guess it's fine, but like if you kind of think about it, like he just lost to Ren Narita, and then he just lost to Brody King, and he hasn't really had a comeback singles win since then, Right. So I'm kind of thinking like from a sports-based, mindset, like where's his like turnaround victory? That never really happened. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's fine. It makes sense, but like, it's not like he's definitely one of the stars of the program, and we're big fans. But from a storyline standpoint, I think it's kind of weird that they're just granting him the title challenge because he placed the challenge. He just lost in the tournament.
Well, that's how it works, man. You call a champ out, you get a title match.
Not always though. I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know. It's kind of fucking weird.
Yeah, I do understand the point you're making. I do think it would have been good to maybe have him get a big win back, maybe beat Narita in a rematch, or get a little bit momentum. Have Filthy Tom face somebody else at first, and then
I would have him fuck somebody up. I mean that's a match that I'm very much looking forward to. I mean, I would probably say those are 2 of my favorite guys on the show, and I think most regular viewers probably feel the same way. So pretty awesome, and that's got to be one of the biggest wins of Tom Lawler's career. I mean, great match, Brody King, inaugural champion. That's probably like the second major singles title he's held in his career so far.
Yeah. Where were you snowflakes on this main event here?
I don't know, like 3 3/4.
Yeah,
maybe 3.5. I don't know.
I was 3.75 on this one. So yeah, really good, strong main event here, and that's going to lead up into next week's show. We're going to have the LA Dojo Showcase. Shibata wants to show off what the LA Dojo guys have been doing and what they've been learning. So we have a show here full of the LA Dojo guys here. Show will open up with TJP taking on the DKC. Then in the second matchup, we'll have Fred Rosser teaming up with Red Narita to take on Alex Coughlin and Kevin Knight. And then the main event will be Carl Fredericks against Clark Connors. So we had a question here from Muzza. He says he's low-key excited for the LA Dojo Showcase show on Strong, but I have a minor irk that Carl Fredericks could perhaps turn heel. Is it just me, or is it a possibility? And if so, which stable would he join?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Would it bother you if Carl Fredericks turned heel? Because I don't feel like it would bother me one way or the other.
It wouldn't bother me. I mean, I don't see him going to Japan anytime soon, so it would be just another kind of character development for him here on Strong. And, you know, he already has the whole alpha wolf persona and personality and gimmick, and he thinks he's a top dog from the LA Dojo. And now you have all these other LA Dojo guys coming, you know, trying to get his spot. So I think it could make a lot of sense for him to turn heel here.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really, paying attention to see if they were teasing that there would be like a character switch like that or a turn. But I mean, he already kind of has some arrogant leaning tendencies right now as it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I also wouldn't be surprised if there was no turn and, there might just be like some slow character progression that kind of takes place as time goes on with these guys. Cause like you mentioned, like we don't have a destination for them in Japan anytime in the, near future, unless something's changed that we don't know about,
Right.
So we'll kind of have to wait and see with that. But I'm excited for this showcase. I mean, I wish TJP wasn't on it, but
well, you know what they should have done? They should have done TJP versus Rocky. Have like old school LA Dojo guys on there,
But then what about DKC?
Then you could have DKC team with Red Narita instead of Fred Rosser.
Oh, you know what? He like totally slipped through my. I literally thought everybody on this was LA Dojo. I did not realize Fred Rosser was on here at all. They need to put Joe on here is what they need to do. Stop playing.
That would be dope.
But yeah, I mean, card looks good. Once you mentioned Fred Rosser was on here, I got a little less excited. But
man, no respect for Mr. No Days Off.
I mean, he's good, but like it's not really about that. I just I want it to be all. I want to be a gimmick show, all LA Dojo. You know what I'm saying?
Like a Lionsgate project.
Yeah. So, I guess like Fred Rosser kind of like fills the void of like those dudes from like Tradition or whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah. All those weird random dudes that would show up on there.
It makes sense too because Fred Rosser's never showing up on like New Japan proper. So you think Fred Rosser's gonna make it in New Japan? Like, that would be Mikey Nichols 2.0. Like,
yeah, there can only be one.
Speaking of Mikey Nichols, wasn't there like a big title match in like EWP with him and Robbie Eagles? I wonder if that happened yet.
I think so. I remember him posting about it, but yeah, I never saw what came out of that.
I heard Mikey Nichols is doing good work in Australia. So,
well, if he ever comes back, hopefully he'll show some of that good work.
Yeah, but that's pretty much gonna do it for New Japan Strong. Unless you got anything else.
Nope, we can transition over to New Japan in Japan. What's going on over there? So we had a Road to Wrestling Dontaku show yesterday, April 26th. Gonna just kind of breeze through the results here of the undercard because I feel like it's a lot of the same talking points that we've had for the last 2 weeks now.
There's a couple things I want to touch on, but not much.
All right. So, opening matchup, we had Desperado, Suzuki, and Kanemaru defeating Roppongi 3K and Tiger Mask.
The only main thing with that is they're kind of telling a little bit of a story that like Sho is not communicating well with his teammates, which led to the loss here, caused Tiger Mask to get pinned. So, kind of like teasing the idea like, will Sho and Yo be, on the same page when they, defend their junior titles on the next upcoming, what are these shows called? Satsuma no Kuni.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and also, we talked about, too, there's been a lot of focus on Yo on these matches, and Yo's kind of been, the star and shining, and we've seen comments from Sho kind of questioning why Yo's getting a title shot, and so I feel Sho is trying to get some shine back on himself by not listening to Tiger Mask and Yo and, not cooperating, so that's definitely going to be an element that's going to play out in that title match.
Are you saying he refused to follow the script?
Yeah.
Is that what you're alleging?
It wasn't working for him, brother.
Yeah. Observe this, brother. We call this a rag sheet, dude.
So the next matchup, we had Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Jado, Tonga, and Tangaloa by disqualification.
Is it fucked up if I tell you that I really enjoyed this match?
I mean, that's on you.
There's some crazy shit here, bro. Bro, Doki did this dive to the outside, and Tama threw up a ladder to hit him in the head. But normally when you do that spot and the guy's doing the dive, you throw up the ladder, it hits the guy in the head and cuts him off, and he drapes over the ropes and falls onto the apron.
Yeah.
This crazy motherfucker Doki did the tope suicida into the ladder and then literally came head first down to the to the cement. Bro, it was on the same level as Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. It was scary as fuck.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy spot. Yeah, Doki's all, like we said, Doki's not going back, and this man's wilding out. But also, yeah, the ladder involvement eventually led to a DQ where Tangaloa starts laying people out with the ladders. Ref calls for the DQ, and they cut a promo.
Now, the other thing I want to talk about is why the fuck do they have such small ladders? Is that the ladder that they're going to be using in this ladder? Bro, if they are using thug ladders, they're using the WLC ladders.
Right, I was going to say that, yeah, the Torito and Hornswoggle ladders.
Bro, we're gonna have to talk to somebody because that ladder was smaller than the ladder from WrestleMania 10. That's a step ladder, So, yeah, that's something you use in your apartment, literally.
Right? Yeah, those ladders were super small. So maybe
what the fuck?
Hopefully that was just for that show and that promo. But yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. This company's in New Japan proper, they've only had one other ladder match, and if I recall correctly, I feel like the ladder that Elgin and Kenny used was pretty large.
Yeah, well, so I think they had several ladders in that match, and I think there was one that was really tall, kind of like in WWE where you have the kind of the normal side and one that's really tall.
It's been so long since I watched that match, so I don't quite remember, but I have a feeling that here's what happened. They came to Kenny and they were like, "Here's your ladder," and they brought him that pimp ladder that we just saw, the thug ladder, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" He's like, "You can't use that." And they're like, "Strong style ladder." He had to explain to them "Nah, bro, it's 2019, 2018, whatever the year that was, we gotta have multiple ladders out here with various sizes and shapes. We can't discriminate,
Yeah.
But now that Kenny's not there to talk reason, who knows? They might just be using this small ass ladder.
I surely hope not, but I guess we'll see coming up soon here. But yeah, God leaves Tekker's laying, cut a post match promo.
And what's the deal? So basically, it sounds like, from what I understand, Zack Sabre is fighting Tangaloa in the singles match, and it's a right to challenge match. So
Yeah, so if Sabre beats Tangaloa, Techers will get a title shot. But if Sabre loses, the Techers are not allowed to challenge for titles ever again.
right, and that's what I was confused about. Is it that they can't challenge God, or they're not allowed to challenge ever, no matter who it is?
I'm not sure. They weren't quite clear. How I saw stuff I've seen posted is that they're not allowed to challenge again. But I don't know if that's been clarified or not, though, by New Japan.
See, and it's hard for me to like believe them, even if that were. Now we know that's not going to happen, but even if it were to happen, it's like, yo, we're about to talk about it, but like this motherfucker Tenzon's still doing Mongolian chops, like, you know. So how much am I supposed to believe that Dangerous Techers are never gonna, challenge for the titles again if they lose? Like, fuck.
Right, and that was a stipulation that was put on by Tangaloa. That I guess the IWGP just agreed with, just like with the Mongolian chop. So maybe, Tenzon made an appeal because, hey, this wasn't, you guys didn't come with a stip like we did. So,
bro, stop trying to make excuses for their terrible, mistakes. But yeah, so that was interesting. We move on. Bullet Club team: Dick Togo, Evil, Geto, Taiji Ishimori, and Yujiro Takahashi. They defeated the Hantai team of Hiroshi Tanahashi, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Master Wato, Ryosuke Taguchi, and Toru Yano. And as I was watching this match, I thought to myself, like, we gotten some questions the past few weeks, like, what's like the one faction that should break up? I'm at the point where I'm like, man, Bullet Club should probably break up. And you know what? Hantai could break up too. Like, let those motherfuckers find like a cause and join up, like, with a faction or something.
Yeah, I mean, Bullet Club's definitely kind of long in the tooth, and just the kids keep adding more people, and it's kind of lost its whole purpose of what the group was actually supposed to be at this point.
Bro, this match, the last like 2 to 3 minutes from the time that like Yano. So obviously we're building up to the. I don't even know the name of the match.
The Creation of Darkness match.
Oh, God, the Creation of Darkness match with the blindfolds from, Martel versus Jake Roberts from WrestleMania 7 or whenever that was. And from the moment that Yano gets in the ring, like at the tail end of this match, it's just bullshit, like shenanigans fuckery. It's just, people getting hit with fucking turnbuckles, like that even hurts, and people getting low blowed, and people getting the executioner style, like fucking things the gimmicks put over their head, and like the referees just like so stupid not seeing all this stuff. Like it's so outrageous. And then at the very, very end of it, when Dick Togo's got a hood on his head, and he's laying on Yano's prone body, who also has a hood on his head. At what point does the referee not just be like, all right, some shit went down, I'm throwing this shit out? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would not count that
contest.
Fall. Like, there's no way I'd count the fall if two people got hoods on. Like, clearly something's amiss. Something went awry,
Right. But yeah, I mean,
this is everything wrong with New Japan right now.
Yeah.
And it all started a year ago with Evil, bro. And I told people, the two things I ranted about the most last year out of everything was Evil getting a main event push and then putting the double titles on him, and this fucking KOPW stipulation. And now they've amalgamated those two things and combined them. I loathe this. I hate it more than anything else in wrestling right now.
Yeah. This is definitely the one match on the cards that I just check out now. Like the last, 5 or 6 Road 2 that's been to some kind of 10-man tag like this with pretty much the exact same kind of finish or shenanigans. I'm just kind of over it.
Yeah, bad.
But then from that match, we move on to the United Empire of Jeff Cobb and Will Ospreay defeating the LIJ team of Bushi and Shingo Takagi.
Very, very good. The main thing, and we've been saying this all along, love them or hate them, the United Empire is like the best thing going in this company right now.
They have New Japan on their backs right now.
Yeah, like they're carrying the company, and it's been a long time since we've talked about a group like that in the company that wasn't named LIJ, but like clearly United Empire is like the premier group in this company. And this match was very good. The stuff with everybody played their role really well. The stuff with Shingo and Will, obviously we're building to the world title match between them, and that stuff was outstanding. This didn't overstay its welcome. 13 minutes, 23 seconds. It's very interesting. We saw Jeff Cobb give Shingo Takagi a tour of the islands, and then Will Ospreay beat Bushi with a Stormbreaker.
Yeah, like I mentioned too last week, we're seeing such great chemistry with all the United Empire guys, no matter which set of guys you have paired up. And there's some great combos here of Ospreay and Cobb, where Cobb catches Ospreay and then propels him into the Oz Cutter onto Shingo. Thought that was a great spot. But yeah, good matchup here.
And that's the thing. We've mentioned it many times. Is like just how creative they are. Like they're not going out there night after night and having the same match, which is on these tours that's kind of what's expected of you, and that's what we become accustomed to. And they're kind of bucking that trend and going out there and having unique matches night in, night out, even when it's a tag,
Right. So yeah, good match here. Like I mentioned, Ospreay gets the win over Bushi with the Chelsea Grin and Stormbreaker, and the world champ is standing here. So then we move on to the semi-main event of the evening with more LIJ versus United Empire action. We had Cold Skull Sonata defeating the Ultimate Weapon, Aaron Henare.
Yeah. So this match was interesting. We talked about it prior that this is a big test for Aaron Henare. Not in the sense that it's not a test of whether he can go or not. We know anyone who's been watching the product for a while knows that Aaron Henare is a great wrestler and really has, the chops to back it up. And you could say the same thing about Sonata, but really the test was kind of seeing where they're placing him in terms of his rank within this group, in terms of his push within the company and his status. And Sonata's a great test in that sense. But, one thing I hadn't considered that sort of played out in this match was seeing Sonata get tested in a sense where he kind of played the veteran role, the guy with more experience. And not to say we've never seen him do that, but very often we've seen him against, different opponents like a Show or Nagata. And he just kind of seemed like last year, he seemed sort of indifferent in some of those matches. But here he seemed to really step up his game, which is kind of unique because we've always talked about how Sonata usually only rises to the level of his competition. And very rarely does he work at a higher level and pull guys up. I mean, I can't think of too many times in the past few years I've ever seen him do that in a singles match. And that's sort of what he was attempting to do here. So, I mean, it was sort of a test for both of these guys.
Yeah, and I thought this was a pretty good match here. One thing I didn't like, there was initially some leg work at the beginning of the match where Henare does the leg breaker onto the table, onto Sonata's knee, so he had an damaged leg there, and Henare was working that over towards the beginning of the match, and then it seemed like all that just got totally abandoned, and Sonata was doing all his leaps and planchas and drop kicks and moonsaults and all this stuff about really selling the leg.
And that's one of those things where it's like you don't have to I mean, I don't know. I'm not always a stickler for that stuff like some people are. I don't ask that the person hobble around on the leg the whole match like they're Randy Savage. But if you're going to focus on it so heavily in that sequence early on, you want it to kind of play out in some way and tell part of the story in a greater way, or at least have some acknowledgement. But it was kind of frivolous. And the fact that they focused on it so heavily for the first part of the match was a little bit bewildering because it never led to anything.
Right, exactly. You would think at some point, like you mentioned, even if he's not hobbling, at some point it would have came back in the end to kind of bite him, or maybe he couldn't do the moonsault or something like that to slow him down. But yeah, it's totally kind of abandoned it. Something else that I did not like about this match was when Hanare had Sonata in that submission, that stretch submission towards the end of the match, and freaking Sonata,
The Twister?
yeah, Sonata was tapping.
I never noticed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Bro, he clearly, to me, those were taps. He was clearly,
I don't know what you're talking about.
dude, Hanare had him in the Twister, and Sonata was like, he starts smacking the mat. He smacks the mat. He smacks the mat. He smacked the mat like 3 or 4 times. He was like trying to get the crowd to like clap or try to like do something, like, you know, get some momentum or something. But to me, that looked like he was tapping out.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that was a Twister, or, you know, a Cobra twist. I mean, it's basically the same move as an abdominal stretch, but on the ground.
Yeah.
You know who used to use that as a finisher briefly was Tamatonga.
Mm.
I don't know if you remember that. Like a few years back, he was doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not notice this. I mean, maybe I was not paying full attention, or I think if I recall, I think I just thought he was trying to get to the ropes.
Well, because I think he was like trying to get the crowd to clap, and also I think he was trying to get to the ropes. He was pulling out that Dragon Lee does that sometimes too, where he kind of smacks the mat. But he did it like multiple times. I'm like,
well, I'll petition our friends over at the IWGP, have them take a look at it, and see if
Red Shoes needs to get his license revoked, man. Hanare was robbed.
His license revoked. Wouldn't that be funny? Like if they did stories where like the referees fucked up and they like had and their like licenses did get revoked and shit.
But yeah, man, Hanare was robbed here.
I'll tell you my thoughts on the match. It's kind of interesting because it's like I liked the match, you know, and I think this match is pretty divisive, to be honest with you, because I saw people that really did not like the match at all, and I've seen some people that are like hyping it quite a bit. I'm kind of in the middle. I liked it. I thought it told a good story. Well, no, I shouldn't say it. I feel like it served its purpose for what it needed to be, but it was kind of a weird match in some respects, because like when I started to say it told a good story, but you know what? I don't think it really told a story at all. Like this was kind of your paint by numbers, main event style New Japan match, which is good. I mean, that's something that we've been asking for a while to kind of see from, you know, them give Hanare an opportunity to have that kind of match. And so in that respect, it was fine. But I mean, Jeremy, what if I had to ask you, what do you think the story of the match was?
Well, honestly, I don't know. There's so many things that were going on. Like, initially, I thought the story was gonna be like, all right, you know, Hanare picks the leg apart, takes the wheel away, so now it's not gonna be able to do a lot of his, you know, high flying stuff. They abandoned that, and then Hanare was kind of overpowering Sonata, but then eventually Sonata just came back and started doing, you know, the Sonata come back and Sonata moves, and then you had your closing sequence of exchange of finishers until Sonata got his finisher and won.
Right. So, I mean, you could tell me the sequences, but it's not like there was a narrative that was really presented. And ultimately, Toa Hanare lost, right?
Yes.
I think he looked really good in the match. I think he showed that he could hang, which is probably what the test was. But it's a little concerning to me because I felt like for them to have given such a push to the guy very recently, if they were going to have him eat a loss, there needed to be some sort of narrative surrounding it. And there really wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right. He just lost.
He just lost.
He ate a TKO. Like, he fired up off the Tiger Suplex, kicked out at 1, but then he ate a TKO, ate a moonsault. 1, 2, 3, it's over.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In a G1, in certain, there's definitely times where you can do this exact kind of match, and it fits perfectly and it's fine. But I feel like for the purpose of what they were building in this match, I mean, also taking an effect that that we as the viewers have been watching for weeks and weeks and weeks as they really built to this match through all these multi-man and tag team affairs between these guys. And it sort of felt like it was going to be this seminal moment. And I'm not saying I expected 100% that Hanare is going to win. I mean, it makes sense that he would lose just given the fact that it's Sonata. I mean, Sonata's, a top guy in the company. So that part's not like out of the realm of reason. But the fact that there just wasn't really a story there is kind of concerning to me.
Yeah, I guess maybe you can say, Hanare was just showing more confidence than he has before, maybe. But even then, it's like, I don't know.
And he was, and that part's great. And, this felt like here's the interesting thing. The main event, I thought this match was better than the main event.
I agree.
But I can easily tell you what the story of the main event was.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All those Naito Khan matches, you can easily tell what the story is in those matches. Whereas this one was just like an athletic affair. And I felt like that wasn't the right kind of they needed to have a narrative surrounding this type of match if you're going to have Hanare lose his first big singles match that you've built to for weeks and weeks and weeks under this gimmick. I'm not saying that it's 100% for sure that like he's cooked, but we talked about how like it was important that there be something, really defining here. And ultimately I didn't feel like there was. I felt like this was almost like them kind of like jobbing him out a little bit.
Yeah, like I feel like Hanare could have had this exact same match in the previous gimmick with Sonata, and it would
he easily could have,
and would have came off the same.
Yeah. One thing, the gear. He was wearing pants before, right?
Yeah, he's been wearing pants for this match. He wore trunks.
Yeah, so maybe he's doing the same gimmick as Okan, where he has like special singles match gear. But I didn't like the gloves with the trunks with the biker shorts. I thought that kind of looked strange to me.
I didn't mind it, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to be as analytical as it possibly can be. But
Ospreay was also out there seconding him, which I thought we might have gotten some interference there.
I was glad that we didn't. I mean, the United Kingdom hasn't really been an interference heavy stable so far. I mean, there've been a few occasions you could definitely point to, but overall, I mean, that's not really been how they have functioned as a heel unit, which is kind of a breath of fresh air considering like everything going on with Bull Club.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I did think that was the one thing that added a bit of, uniqueness to the match, was the fact that like Will Ospreay came out and seconded Hanare, but it ultimately that didn't lead to anything either.
Right. And if we talked about last week, we felt like Hanare should have won this match. And if he was going to lose, like, I wish they would have done something similar to what they did with Okan Tanahashi, where Tanahashi kind of catches him off guard with like a roll-up kind of thing. So it's like, wow, it could have been like Hanare's in control, he's dominant, and then Sonata does like the European clutch and gets the win. And it's like, man, like he's kind of a banana peel kind of win.
I mean, there was an element to the fact that Hanare kept trying to hit the Streets of Rage, and he was never able to land that. So, I mean, if you wanted to point to that, that's fine. But, I mean, I just didn't feel – I felt like you mentioned, this match could have easily happened under his previous gimmick. Nothing really changed between the two, except for the fact that they've given him more of an outlet, a push, and more opportunity to kind of showcase what he's capable of.
Yeah, and I get it. It's not a former, New Japan Cup winner, IWGP challenger, but I don't know. I feel like he could have lost, especially on a Road 2 show. I feel like he could have ate this loss and would have been fine going forward.
Now, here's another strange thing, and maybe I don't know if this is going to resonate with you or not, but like this match felt overly long to me, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, well,
like the match is like 23 minutes.
Yeah,
but and the match wasn't bad. I liked the match. I enjoyed it, but okay, here's what I mean. Oftentimes when you like a match and you think this is good, it's going good, and then you look at the time or you hear the call and you're like, fuck, they're 15 minutes in. That breezed by. This didn't feel like that at all. Like when they were like 10 minutes, I was like, fuck. And I liked the match. Like, but I was like, why does it feel like this match is taking so long? Like, I don't know. It's weird. The dynamics of the match were weird. Like, I've got a lot of positive. It's a mixed bag because I think Sonata really stepped up his game. I loved the closing sequences. I mean, it felt like one of your big like Okada-esque sort of like closing sequences.
Yeah,
there's good stuff there, and the crowd was really, really into it. But there's also like these wonky things that just felt off. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's during some of the Hanare control spots, I feel like the match was kind of slowed down to a halt and kind of dragged a little bit.
Maybe that was what it is. I don't know.
But yeah, there's definitely good and bad in this match. Ultimately, I'm about 3.5 on this match.
I'd probably go like 3 3/4, but 3.5 is probably appropriate.
We did have a question here from EMJ Does PR. He said, first question, Hanare versus Sonata, low key or high key banger?
Probably like low key. I wouldn't call it a high key banger.
I mean, on this Wrestling Dontaku tour, it's probably one of the top matches from this tour. But
this night was probably one of the top nights of the tour so far.
Yeah, definitely a low key banger. He also asked, do all of United Empire make it into the G1 this year?
No, there's no way. I mean, they could, but like, I just feel like I feel like there's no way Hanare is getting into the G1.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, if he was, I mean, a win over Sonata would have been a great, way for him to establish himself. But at this point, yeah, there's a lot of big shows coming up where he's not really featured on. So I don't know what would be his, kind of calling card to what that would give him like a right to say he deserves to be in the G1.
Yeah, we like to call that the Yoshihashi treatment. Usually this time of the year, Yoshihashi gets a big singles win over somebody, and then Kevin Kelly's able to be like, that's a big win. That's going to go a long way in getting this guy, some recognition for the G1, which also is like, what's today's date? The 28th? I mean, we're a couple days, and there's still no English language version on here. I'm kind of wondering what's going on with that.
Yeah, I know some of them have gone up pretty quickly. Some of them, there's been a few day delays. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm not criticizing. It's just strange. Like in the recent past, like Kevin's been like knocking those out like nothing, Yeah. I mean, it should have called me. I would have done it.
Yeah, I would have done it too. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if all four guys do end up in the tournament. But it's going to be highly. I mean, I think obviously Ospreay and Cobb, I think are locks.
I think Okan's a lock.
I mean,
Okan is not getting left out of the G1, bro.
I don't think he should be, but the way they treat Okan, sometimes I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised.
I would be shocked.
Well, we'll see when we get into the fall. But speaking of Okan, let's talk about the main event here. Tetsuya Naito gets his win back, defeats the great Okan, who was seconded by Cobb and Ospreay, 27 minutes, 5 seconds.
Yeah, and this is a interesting take for me because I enjoyed this match quite a bit. I thought it was very good. I did not like it as much as the match that was underneath it, but for some reason at 27 minutes, it didn't feel like 27 minutes to me. Like I felt like Naito and Okan went out there and wrestled a pretty good pace for the 27 minutes that they were kind of allotted. And I felt like they told a much better, easier to follow story. It just maybe wasn't perhaps as action packed or have as crazy of an ending as the other match did. But, I don't know. I felt like this match was a little bit more compelling from a story standpoint.
This match dragged a little bit for me. I was feeling that 27 minutes, and I think part of it because it wasn't as action packed. And I think to me, with Naito as a babyface, a lot of times he just gets in like the John Cena mode where it's just sell. He gets beaten down. I think there's a long period in this match where like Great Okan was in charge and just beating him down. He's selling and he's trying to fight back. And so to me, that kind of dragged a little bit.
I could see that for sure. There's quite a few things that I saw them doing though that I thought just were really good, like really good. And you know what? That is kind of more that cerebral style. So like, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but like, there's a lot of things I saw both of them doing here, like little things that kind of remind me of like early Jay White sort of, you know, where it's like this guy's definitely got something, but you know, it's not all there. And that's kind of how I was feeling about Okan. One thing I noticed, I don't know if you picked up on this or if maybe like, I don't know if you've been noticing, but like, does Naito look physically like a lot better recently?
I really have. To me, honestly, it's looked the same in the last few months.
Well, you know, to be honest, I haven't been paying a lot of attention to his work, you know, on a lot of these tag matches. So, you know, kind of seeing him go out there and like, I felt like, I'm not saying from a movement standpoint, you know, wrestling wise, but physically, like, he started kind of looking like his old self. Like he looked like he trimmed up quite a bit, and also he looks more muscular. Like it's the first time I'm feeling like I've seen definition in his shoulders and arms and his pecs and everything like that. You know, in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, he's kind of looking good here.
Man's getting ready for a world title match in Yokohama Stadium.
That's very possible. That's very possible that that's the case.
But yeah, I do agree with you on, you know, Great Okan. Just like I've noticed, like this little things he does in the ring and just like character work and just how he just kind of establishes himself. I think it's been really good. And that's the one thing I love about Great Okan. I feel like he's always trying something new and constantly evolving. I like the opening match where he's part of the match where he's pulling guard and trying to get Naito into his guard. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought the early grappling sequences were cool. There was a lot of moves that like Naito did in the match where like Okan did some pretty crazy fucking bumps. A lot of like spiking, rolling bumps. What's the move that he does from the top rope? It's like a
like that flipping DDT thing.
Yeah, I don't know the name of that move, but that move, like when he took that and like fucking ate it like a pro.
Yeah.
There was a sell that he did off of one of the swinging DDTs and swinging neck breakers. Like he bumped his ass off in this match. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and he busted out the Tenson Tombstone driver. Kind of.
Yeah, he did that, feud. And then I really liked the reversal of the claws into, well, first he did a backbreaker combo with it, which was cool, but then later on when he was doing the claw, it kind of got reversed into a Destino, which was pretty dope.
Yeah, and kicking out of that one of that Destino from the reversal.
He kicked out of 2 Destinos in this match.
Right, he kicked out the running one, which normally everybody kicks out the running Destino. But then, yeah, the Destino off the Eliminator, I thought that was going to be it. But he kicked out of that too. But that set up for the third Destino, and Naito got the win there.
The proper Destino.
Yeah, the arm ring and gets him down. So
yeah.
So United Empire 0-2 here in these single matches. LIJ gets the last laugh on this night.
Yeah, I always tend to really like these Naito Okan matches for whatever reason. And it's strange because like I would never, if someone was like, what was something that you saw that was really good that you could recommend to me? I wouldn't necessarily recommend these matches unless someone was like a kind of invested in these characters, you know?
Yeah.
But they tell really good pro wrestling stories. You know, they're not like the most action packed thing that you can see out there. It's not, you know, Phoenix on Dynamite every week or anything like that. But I find these matches to be pretty compelling personally. I probably would have taken maybe like say 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes off of this match. And then, you know, you end up with something that's probably really good for the month at that point if you do that.
Yeah, I enjoyed the New Japan Cup matchup better. I thought it was a more kind of special moment too. Also, that's kind of gone to the wayside now. But yeah, I like the New Japan Cup match better. But yeah, they still told a great story here, and we're still seeing Great Okan evolve and kind of flush out this character and the work that he has in the ring.
The one thing I didn't like about we kind of voiced a few criticisms, but one thing I was surprised by that I was waiting on that really never panned out was like how much character work was involved in the build up to this, with Naito kind of doing the mocking and the way that Okana's kind of responded to that sort of behavior. And I sort of expected that to play out in this match to some degree. It never really happened. I mean, you didn't see, unless there was something I missed, but I felt like that wasn't really what they were doing out there.
Right. The only thing that really happened was at the very beginning where Okan was trying to get him in the guard, and then like Naito was playing around. He grabbed like Red Shoes' leg. He shot on Red Shoes for a second. But after that, like he was like pretty much like serious Naito, and there was no like, it wasn't like the first like, New Japan Cup match where he was doing a lot of the taunting.
Where he didn't take him seriously.
Right. And so, like you mentioned, in the Road to and the multi-man tag matches, they were kind of continuing that story of Naito kind of goofing around, not taking him seriously. But I think Naito obviously learned from the singles match that he does have to take him seriously, and so.
Right, and that's fine. It's a pretty natural progression. He didn't take him serious the first time, so he learned from that and learned it's not a game for the second match. But the build didn't really reflect that that's the story they were telling necessarily. So I felt like that was a little confusing. It sort of reminded me of the feud that Naito had a couple years back that we were left uninspired by with him and Suzuki.
Yeah.
Where it felt like there were certain story elements that they were telling in the build match after match, and then the actual match happened, and very little of that was reflected in the layout of the match itself.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna get like a wild, crazy brawl, and ended up being like Suzuki just having him in like a leg lock for like 10 minutes.
Correct. Yeah, and this wasn't quite that, but it's kind of similar in the sense that there were certain themes that were like teased that never really came into focus in the match.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up the Road to Wrestling Dontaku on April 26th. We have 4 big shows here to preview and give predictions for. So we're recording on Tuesday, April 27th, and by the time you guys hear this, it will be Wednesday, April 28th, and the first night of Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni will have happened. But we're going to go ahead and run the card down and give our predictions here. So show's going to be opening up with Gabriel Kidd and Tiger Mask taking on Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. Going with Tiger Mask here for the win here for that team.
You want to give predictions for these undercard matches?
We don't have to. We can kind of run through them.
They just seem so unimportant.
Yeah. So, second match, once again, we will have Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. against Jado, Tamatonga, Tangaloa. Third matchup, we'll have Tanahashi, Master Wato, and Taguchi versus Gato, Taiji, and Yujiro. Fourth matchup, we will have Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Naito against Aaron Hanara, Gato Khan, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay. Then the semi-main event of the evening will be for the KOPW 2021 Provisional Championship as Toru Yano defends against Evil in a Creation of Darkness match.
Yeah, this is like damned if you do, damned if you don't territory, because it's like, on the one hand, if Evil loses, it frees him up to be out there causing all kinds of havoc on my New Japan viewing. Like, if he wins, he's kind of relegated to this one KOPW gimmick, and that's fine. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know that I want them to elevate the KOPW gimmick in any way, shape, or form. And if he wins, that it seems like maybe that's what will happen. So it's like, I don't really see a positive outcome here. I'm hoping, I guess, for the sake of everything, here's my logic. Evil's at his own status right now, period. I don't see them giving him a strong demotion anytime soon. But KOPW is at this one level, and hypothetically it could be raised, but I don't want it to be. I'd prefer for it to stay as this middling undercard, joke. So I'm going to go with Toru Yano retaining, just because I can't really even imagine what anyone else holding this title in New Japan, what that even looks like. Like, I hope no one else ever wins the KOPW title.
Yeah, I'm going with Toru Yano here. Honestly, I feel like this is just his gimmick at this point. He has a KOPW shirt. He has a big, long introduction that he does, and he has all the KOPW trophies that have his little jacket on there. I think this is his little vehicle for him, something fun for him to do, and a way to kind of subtly push Yano throughout the year. So another fear I have is that if Evil wins, then maybe Yano turns around and chases back after him to regain this shit. Right. And I don't know if I can stomach another Yano Evil feud, or constant, I just can't do it. Right, then get a bunch more Chaos, Bullet Club, multi-mans.
Bro, I'm over this shit. I can't stomach it. It's so fucking bad.
Yeah, it's rough. But yeah, I'm going with Yano here. And hopefully, we can just move on to something better for both those guys.
This is probably one of the least anticipated matches for me in New Japan history. Yeah. I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
I might boycott it. On principle.
Then we have the main event here for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo will defend against the Suzuki-gun team of El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
Yeah, this should be good, but it's the match that we've seen. I gave the official count on the show a couple weeks ago, and it was something insane. I'm assuming that Roppongi 3K is going to retain here.
I'm going to go with Despy and Kanemaru getting the belts back.
Why?
Well, they've been slowly kind of telling the story of Sho kind of maybe being jealous of Yo's getting a singles title match, and so this kind of leads into my prediction going forward, but I feel like they'll drop the belts here, and then possibly you could have Yo defeat Desperado and set up Sho to challenge Yo for the title.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. I'm not sure what's really happening going forward. As far as I don't know, I'm just trying to think of what's going on in the junior division. It's part of me, my initial gut reaction is that they just put the title on Desperado, so it would be pretty shitty for them to turn around and put it on Yo like that. But who knows? Maybe that's what they are planning to do. Maybe you're right. I just don't see Yo winning the title, though, personally. The same way how I didn't really see Sho winning it either. So I feel like there's more upside currently with Desperado. Although, I don't know, it does kind of feel like he's cooled off a little bit these past few months.
Yeah, well, it's the lack of focus on him, and also there's not much they could really do with the junior division with just so little guys there. So there's definitely been a lack of focus on that division in the last couple of months. So he's definitely cooled off since the big win and facing Ibushi a few months ago.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So, and they never even planned to put the title on him originally, anyways. It's something they kind of just happened to fall into based on Hiromu's torn pec. So who knows if you could be right here. I'm just thinking I don't know, they're going to retain. I don't know. It just feels like that's a lot of title switching to be doing back to back to back in both the junior and junior tag team divisions. I know that they have a history of that, but it just seems excessive right now to be doing it that way. Last week, one thing we neglected to discuss was all the stuff Hiromu's been doing recently, like him cleaning the ring, but in between the during the intermission.
Yeah, and there was one show where he did the closing, like, send home announcement, like drive home safe announcements.
Yeah, he was talking on Twitter saying that he wanted to do English commentary with Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
So that's just been pretty funny.
And he threw out a KOPW stipulation that he wants like a no English match. You're not allowed to speak English for the match.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you speak English for any reason, you get disqualified. Now my question with that is, what does he mean? Speak in the match? Does he mean like, calling shit?
Well, the example he said was like, if you said like, "Hey ref, that should have been 3."
Right, but like, okay, if you are in the ear of your opponent and you're like drop down tackle, can the other guy like motion to the referee that you spoke English in his ear and tattle and you lose?
I mean, I guess you could if you want to not follow the script and call it a shoot.
Like you get in his ear, time to go home, brother. No, he's fucking spoke English. No, you got to speak Japanese.
But Hiromu has been kind of just like popping up all over the place in random places throughout this tour, and it's been a lot of fun. So hopefully,
hey man, your guess about this match could be as good as anybody's. I mean, I don't even have a feeling of insight into this like at all.
Honestly,
personally.
I'm just throwing it out there. Like I don't feel 100% confident in it, but I just feel like the junior division is such in a state of flux right now, and like if Sho and Yo retain, who's next?
My whole thinking is this: Yo is about to challenge for the junior title, so he needs to win to be made to look strong in his defense before he challenges, and I think inevitably loses. So I'm probably looking at it from the different psychology than you. I know it seems like you're focusing a little bit more on the tag team dynamics of Sho and Yo. Right. I'm sort of just thinking about Yo as a challenger. He kind of needs to win here to justify his getting a title shot, basically, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, cause I'm thinking maybe Sho eats the pin here due to some miscommunication, maybe him trying to steal the glory or something or whatever. He gets pinned, which leads to more issues between him and Yo, but Yo doesn't get pinned, so he still looks strong going into the title match.
It's definitely possible. I'm at the point where I'm done predicting splits with these guys because they just never go with it.
Yeah.
So, like, until they show me something different, I'm not even going to anticipate it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But then Thursday, April 29th, we'll have Night 2 of Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni. Open up with Tsuji and Yamura against Bushi and Sanada. Then we'll have Sho and Yo in Tiger Mask against Despi, Suzuki, and Kanemaru. Then we'll have Doki, Taichi, and Sabre against Jado, Tamatanga, and Tangaloa. Fourth matchup, we'll have Tenzan, Wato, Taguchi, and Yano against Togo, Evil, Taiji Shimori, and Yujiro Takahashi. Semi-main event, we will have Shingo and Naito against Great Okan and Will Ospreay. And the main event, we have the return of Kota Ibushi, Golden Ace. Tanahashi and Ibushi will take on the Ultimate Weapon, Aaron Henare, and the Hatchet, Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, I feel like these top two matches are probably going to be, the ones to sort of look out for. I mean, you look at Shingo and Naito against Okan and Will Ospreay. I mean, there's definitely people you could see there. Like, for instance, Okan kind of like is obviously like a potential pin eater there, but at the same time, I mean, in a big high profile tag team match like this, like, anything's possible. But yeah, I mean, you got four big stars there. I'm guessing because they probably are gearing up for Naito, potentially being another challenger here in the near future. Plus Shingo and Will Ospreay, are about to have a title match. It looks like Okan is going to be looking at the lights now. I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, that would make the most sense here.
And then, but either way, I mean, I am wondering if this will continue. The issue between Naito and Okan, maybe we get a rubber match. If not here, then probably down the road. Or if this is sort of like the blow off for the time being between them, which seems like that might be the case.
Yeah. To me, I think it might kind of be the blow off. I think Naito's gonna be moving into the title picture.
And then on the other side, we got Golden Ace against United Empire, Aaron Hanari and Jeff Cobb. One thing that's been interesting is all throughout this tour, we've been building to a Tanahashi Jay White match for the Never title, but Jay's not really been on the tour, so there hasn't been a way to kind of like focus that attention aside from like post-match comments and things that they've been doing on social media, that sort of thing.
Right, Gato has kind of been the stand-in for Jay, and he's been booing Tanahashi when he takes his jacket off to reveal his abs, and a lot of the build-up for that match has been between the interaction between Gato and Tanahashi. Right,
and I know that we've got kind of a personal issue between Ibushi and Jeff Cobb. That match is coming up, but I mean, what do you think about the inclusion of Hanare and Tanahashi in this match? I mean, we haven't seen Ibushi and Tanahashi team up together as a tag team proper in quite a while. I mean, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, it's very interesting that they decided to put Golden Ace back here together in this main event against United Empire. Like you mentioned, we know that Ibushi has an issue with Cobb, but interesting, we have Tanahashi and Hanare, so maybe they are trying to foreshadow what's next. Maybe Tanahashi's going to beat Jay, and then Aaron Hanare steps up as the next challenger for the Never title.
Yeah, and I mean, May 3rd is Jay White against Tanahashi. We haven't heard or seen from Jay White at all. I wouldn't be surprised if Jay White gets involved in this match.
Yeah, I mean, either interfere or post-match,
right.
Let's say Golden Ace wins, and you could have Jay come out and attack both these guys.
Post-match or even pre-match? Both potentially seem like the more likely scenario. It's pretty rare that we see someone from a rival faction interfere during, another faction, heel faction's match like that. But, that might be something cool to shake things up. I remember when Jericho attacked Evil right as he was making his entrance to fight Zack Sabre.
Yeah.
And that was like something that was like, we never see that sort of thing. Because again, people from different groups just really don't get involved in matches like that,
Right.
So, maybe that's something. But we've only got a few days before they're supposed to fight each other with little to no interaction since the tour started. So I think that that's a high likelihood that they get involved somehow, some way.
Yeah. So who do you think will get the win here?
I'm I'm gonna be a little cheeky here and say the United Empire is gonna get the win. I'm kind of banking on the idea that Jay White is gonna get involved. Although, Aaron Hanare is probably gonna eat the pinfall.
Yeah, I see a Kamigoye going right through Aaron Hanare's head. Golden Ace getting the win. It's Ibushi's big, comeback match. Tanahashi had the title match in a couple of days. You want those guys to look strong, so.
Yeah, I need to change my decision. Like, there's no way Golden Ace is losing here. Like, I'm just kind of thinking, like, what if Jay White fucks up Tanahashi before the match?
He could though.
Right, but at the same time, I'm just like, Kota Ibushi's probably gonna win.
Yeah. Well, that's night 2 of Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni. Then on Monday, May 3rd, we will have night 1 of Wrestling Dontaku 2021. The show will open up. We'll have Toriano, Hiroshi Tenzan, Tiger Mask, and Master Wato versus Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, Taiji Shimura, Dick Togo. Second matchup, we'll have Kazuchika Okada, Sho and Yo against Tomohiro Suzuki, Desperado, and Kanemaru. Third matchup, we'll have Ospreay, Great Khan, Aaron Hanare, Jeff Cobb against Shingo, Naito, Sonata, and Bushi. Then the fourth matchup, we will have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tangaloa. If Zack wins, the Techers will get a title shot. If Sabre loses, the Techers can never challenge for the tag team titles again.
I think it's pretty clear Zack Sabre Jr. is winning the match here.
Yeah, that's a kind of a dead give. That stipulation was definitely a dead giveaway there. This feud's obviously been going on, and there's not many other teams out there to face GOD. So, yeah, I think Sabre's definitely winning this matchup.
This would be the most absurd feud, unless they have some sort of twist plan that we don't know about, if Zack lost.
Right.
Like, if Zack lost, then it's like, then what's the point,
Right. So, yeah, I think that definitely, the thing that makes most sense here is, Zack getting the win here. And then semi-main event, we have the Iron Finger from Hell ladder match as Taichi takes on Tama Tonga.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one. There was one during the opening of the show. Or maybe it wasn't the opening of the show, but it might have been the post match. But there was one point where one of these, I think it was Tangaloa, was like, "You're gonna get the Iron Finger."
Yeah, it was Tangaloa.
And I was like, why does that sound like some sort of like fucking medieval BDSM like sex act? Like it sounds like the Iron Finger. Like fuck, I don't want to get the Iron Finger. Like,
or maybe you do.
Maybe I do. I don't know. Like, what are you trying? That's like one of those things. Like you bust that out, and she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa."
Jumping the gun there.
What the fuck are you trying to do with that thing? What is that for? Who are you using that on? You're not using that on me. Like I've never called. I don't know if you've noticed this, but since we've been doing the show, I've never really called it the Iron Fingers. I've always or finger as they refer to it. It's always been the claw. The Iron Claw from Hell, because that's badass to me.
Yeah.
There's no confusion about me maybe possibly doing some sort of weird sex act on you with the Iron Claw from Hell. But with the Iron Finger, I mean, you never know.
Right. Leads a lot to the imagination.
You're gonna get the Iron Finger. I was like, God.
Oh, man.
What the fuck's going on in this company?
But yeah, I think Taichi is going to get the win here and get custody back of the Iron Finger.
Yeah, it's going to be a big night for God. I mean, this is supposed to hypothetically lay to rest the Iron Finger, because the deal is whoever wins the match obtains the ownership of the Iron Finger or the Iron Claw from Hell, and then they can no longer bring it out to matches. That was at least how Sugabayashi sort of framed it.
Yeah.
Now if they follow their own stipulations, who knows? Because we're still getting Mongolian chops. But if that is the case, I mean, it just seems like the logical progression of the story would be that Taichi gets Isuka's Iron Finger back. So I mean, I don't know what would happen in this company if Tama Tonga had the permanent ownership. Like, that man was going crazy when he had that shit. So
You're right. Yeah, I still think it would make sense story-wise for him to be the one to end up with it. And I think it makes a lot of sense to have both Techers get the win in singles matches, so they definitely, even though I know the stipulation's on a Sabre match, with both of them winning, there's definitely a claim there for them getting a title shot. So I think it'd be a good way to, and especially I feel like Techers have been getting beat down a lot throughout this tour. In the never-ending six-man tag matches they've been doing with them and Doki against Jado and God. So I feel there's some comeuppance for them, and then get into momentum going into eventually challenging for the tag titles.
One of my favorite lines is when Zach will be like, "We did more for this tag team division in 6 months than you've done in 6 title reigns."
Yeah. There's another great Sabre backstage where he was like burying the amount of tag matches on the Road to shows.
Yeah. He's like, what good is this? It's not good to anybody. Like, what the fuck is this for?
The bloody preview match.
The main event of Dontaku Night 1, we've got the never openweight champion, Jay White or Hiroshi Tanahashi. Oh my god, I'm at the point where like I'm ready to like just strap up Jay White.
Wow.
Hiroshi Tanahashi, the never openweight champion, will be defending his crown against Jay White.
Yeah, big matchup for Jay. This is the Bullet Club anniversary shows here, the Wrestling Dontaku. So I'm sure we'll see some Bullet Club kimonos, but this I feel like this is definitely one that can go either way. But I don't know. I'm riding with the ace. I think Tanahashi is going to keep the belt, keep the never title, and go forward.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with Jay.
Yeah, I mean,
like Like, I don't really have like a good compelling reason. I think part of it is Jay is trying to obviously sort of facilitate this whole quadruple champion historic thing that no one else has done. And at the way things are currently, like, Jay White's not even the top heel in the company right now. So, if he loses, there's really going to be a lot of attention not really, on him at all. But he can kind of deflect from that quite a bit if he's able to, belt himself up. With Tanahashi, it's Tanahashi. I mean, he can have the title and it's great and everything, but he doesn't necessarily need it either. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. Because I know this match is probably not going to be a quote unquote never style match. I know a lot of the build up here has been between both these guys trying to make each other submit. So I'm sure we're going to get a lot of submission based stuff here between both these guys. But I feel like going forward, Tanahashi can have more never style matches with people, especially if that previous matchup with United Empire, the foreshadowing against Hanare, to just kind of continue to have more never style matches. I would like Tanahashi to get it going forward. If Jay gets him going forward, I think we're definitely going to kind of see this abandonment of the never style.
Oh, bro, I've already like resigned myself to believing that shit's done. Like, I have no reason to believe that unless that title is firmly around the waist of someone like Shingo, Goto, Suzuki, Ishii, someone of that ilk, Nagata, the whole never thing is done. Like, and I think that that's an unfortunate byproduct of the unification of the IC title with the world title. So I think this is the de facto number 2 belt. We used to make jokes. I don't know if we were friends back then, but me, Rich, and James used to make jokes about how the world title was actually the Intercontinental belt years ago, and it was, and the Intercontinental belt was nowhere near what it had been in, say, the 80s and the 90s. The world title was basically the number 2 belt in the company.
Yeah.
When guys like Sheamus and Dana Bryan held it and shit like that. So I kind of think that that's sort of what's happened here, but in reverse. Like, this is the number 2 belt. It's not going to be, defined by a style of match, but more so by its stature in the company. It's the number 2 belt. It's held by top guys. I think Jay White holding it adds quite a bit to this new, increased lineage that they have going. And you're right. It could go either way. The main thing I'm hoping for is that the match actually just deliver.
Yeah, if it's a great main event, I'll be, fine either way, whoever wins. I mean, either both of these guys are guys you can just, if you just can't count either of these guys out. I feel like there's times that I don't pick Tanahashi wins. There's times I don't pick Jay White, and Jay White wins. You could never count either of these guys out, and they're against each other here, so.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. They've had 6 matches. 3 of them, they had a stretch of matches from October of 2018 to June of 2019, 3 matches in a row that I all thought were really, really good, but then there've been, like their first G1 match, the most recent match they had in the New Japan Cup, and then their Wrestle Kingdom 12 match I wasn't as high on. So they're very hit and miss when it comes to my enjoyment of their matches. But I'm very confident that if they want to, they can go out there and have a great match. And given the fact that it's on a big show like Dontaku and the stakes that are in place, I do think they're going to go out there and probably deliver. All time, I don't know if you know this, but like Jay White is 4-2 against Tanahashi. So I don't know if that's going to sway your decision one way or the other. If you see it as though Jay sort of has Tanahashi's number in his older age, or if it's sort of like it makes all the sense in the world that Tanahashi might even things up a little bit here, get a successful defense. My main just way of thinking about it is like, what do you do with Jay after this? And I think you have more options for booking in the company if Jay wins as opposed to if Tanahashi wins.
That's true. But I don't know. I'm gonna ride with the ace. I think it's going to be a night, even though it's supposed to be the Bullet Club anniversary. We're going to get 3 Bullet Club losses straight in a row here, with God losing their singles matches and Jay losing here. And it kind of ended up being a sour night for Bullet Club.
It definitely would be. There's also the heel factor. I mean, if, Will Ospreay is the IWGP World Title holder, if Jay White wins, you've got 2 of your top heels holding the top 2 titles in the company simultaneously. That's another thing to kind of consider. I mean, I don't know, but with the way that this company has been loving heat lately, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely could.
Yeah, it might be right up their alley.
Yeah, and I feel like going forward, if Jay doesn't win, I think you can just try to move him into another kind of heavyweight feud, and then eventually get him heated up for like a big match at one of the upcoming Wrestle Grand Slam shows.
And with how hot he was earlier in the year when the contract negotiations were sort of in flux, we anticipated that there was going to be a bigger overarching story that sort of panned out from that. And then it kind of does feel like things cooled off once they brought him in and had him feud with like Tomohiro Ishii right out the gate, and sort of didn't capitalize on what they had built. You know what I mean? So with saying that, I mean, maybe there is still plans in place to do something kind of unique and compelling, and maybe a loss could be the catalyst for something like that,
Right, yeah.
With how his character is.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they dropped the ball on following up on all the buzz they had with him on the whole contract negotiation stuff. And so, yeah, maybe
yeah, bro, he was like the hottest guy in the industry for like, a few weeks.
Yeah, literally everybody was talking, where's Jay going to go? Is he going to show up in WWE, AEW, what's happening? And so there was so much buzz, and I feel like they could have set that up for a bigger matchup and some bigger moments and bigger storylines, but they failed to capitalize on that. But, yeah, maybe a Jay loss here could, reignite some of the stuff that they were working on with him and Ishii and Chaos and all that stuff at the beginning of the year.
We shall see.
So then we'll move on to night 2 of Wrestling Dontaku, which will be on Tuesday, May 4th. The show will open up with, surprise, surprise, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Doki against Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Jado. Then we will have Okada and Sho against Suzuki and Kanemaru. Naito, Sanada, and Bushi versus Okan, Hanare, and Cobb. 4th matchup, Tanahashi, Yano, Tenzan, and Taguchi, and Master Wato against Jay White, Evil, Kenta, Yujiro, and Taiji Ishimori. Then the semi-main event, we will have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line as El Desperado defends against Yo.
Yeah, so what are we thinking here on these ones?
Yeah, so like we mentioned earlier, I feel like Desperado has cooled down. There's not a lot of buzz behind him right now. There has been a lot of focus on Yo, kind of this repackaging of his gear, his music, and there's a lot of emphasis on him, in the tag title win. There's a lot of focus on him and him getting the win there, and then kind of being kind of the standout or kind of the guy that's kind of pushed, quote-unquote, during the multi-mans on this Road to Wrestling Dontaku tour. I think it's just been a lot to build up Yo here, and so I'm going to go with a title change. I'm going to go with Yo capturing his first Junior Heavyweight Championship here against El Desperado.
Has Desperado had a single successful title defense yet? I don't think so.
No, this is his first defense, right?
Yeah. I'm going to go with Desperado. I mean, I see what you're saying, and it makes sense. They did a lot to build up Yo. I think that there's probably still a narrative there surrounding Roppongi 3K if he doesn't win. And sure, that you could tell a story if he does win, obviously. But the way I'm just thinking about it is like Desperado's never defended the title. To me, it would just kind of seem, I don't know. I just feel like that'd be very sort of quick to get the belt off of him right away when, they've done some pretty cool, things with him recently, in big buildings, and there's definitely a buzz about him. But I mean, maybe I'm disconnected from the domestic fan base. I don't know. I mean, I know Sho and Yo are big, they're big stars too. So it's hard to say. But I'm thinking Despy gets this one, and Yo can go off on his way, and they can tell their story with showing Yo from that point going forward. He failed in his title defense, and Desperado will keep being a badass and fuck people up.
Yeah, against another matchup here that could go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised if Desperado does retain. Like, you made some great points there, and yeah, they could continue Desperado retaining and kind of give him a better title run, get him some more defenses down the line.
I'm just thinking, like, with the show and Yo aspect of it, sure. If Yo were to just come back from his injuries and automatically win the title that, Show's tried multiple times, to win and has never been successful, there's definitely a story there. But I also think that there's something kind of compelling in the sense of, like, if he fails as well, and then they're kind of left there together as the tag team champions,
Yeah.
And so, like, they've both failed. They both have the same prize in mind, but they're also the tag team champions, and it's kind of becoming clear, like, hey, something's got to happen here. And I think if you're telling a story of miscommunication, or if there's some sort of issue brewing between them, you could easily do that based off the fact that they both failed at winning the top prize.
Right.
I don't think that's. It's sort of similar to the story they told in OTT when Walter was like the top guy, and they had the Jordan Devlin and David Starr stuff going on.
Yeah.
And they were both failures, and that was sort of what kind of drove the
wedge between those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the fact that they were both competing, like the competition as well.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely a compelling. They can definitely do something like that here, and if they're forced to still be champions, and you can tease out that dissension as they defend the titles until it finally hits a breaking point.
Yeah, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're absolutely right. They repackaged Yo. They gave them new music. Maybe that is what this is all building to. Maybe that's why they opted to put the tag titles on them straight out the gate, as opposed to going the traditional route with what you would do in most pro companies when someone returns from a long injury and have them lose night one. They didn't do that. So maybe that's why he's going to win. I don't know.
Yeah, so it should be a pretty good matchup, though. So
I am excited for the match, and I'm also excited to see Yo on this stage because, we've seen him in some Super Juniors main events, but they've been few and far between. We've never really seen him on a big main, semi-main event stage like this before.
Yeah, Show's been the one to kind of get all the kind of big semi-main events or main events going forward, and so. Yeah, it's great. Yo's getting a shot here, and it should be a really good matchup, so looking forward to it.
I mean, I'll tell you this much. Like, if I was the Yo of our podcast and everyone was giving all the opportunities to you, and I knew deep down that I'm the better podcast host of the two of us, then when they give me my shot, I'm going to fucking shoot my shot and show everybody, And, like, I don't know. I feel like Yo should go out there with, like, a chip on his shoulder being like, yo, I'm not – I'm Marty Jannetty.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? I'm Yo Michaels.
So, yeah, we'll see if Yo can prove that on Tuesday. So then that brings us to the main event of Wrestling Dontaku Night 2. The IWGP World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Will Ospreay defends against the Dragon, Shingo Takagi.
Very much looking forward to this match. Thrilled that we're getting it twice in a calendar year. We did just get this match. What was that? Was that the finals of the New Japan Cup?
Yes.
Yeah. So just a couple months ago, and or maybe even less than that. But my thinking here is just like I love Shingo. It seems insane that he would lose back to back in the same year to Ospreay, but Ospreay is the top heel in the company. And I just feel like in his first title defense, they're not going to have him drop the belt to Shingo when he already beat Shingo this past year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Ospreay is going to leave without that World Heavyweight title. But for me, with Shingo losing, I feel like they kind of need to go the hour draw here.
You think they're going the hour draw?
I mean, I don't want Shingo to get another loss, so I think you can protect this matchup by doing the draw. Then you could do another Shingo Ospreay match later on in the year and have Shingo beat him.
I definitely think that's possible. And yeah, you'd mentioned the hour draw in the past. You've sort of alluded to it. So I guess that's not out, it's not like it's inconceivable that they could do that. I'm just thinking, I don't know, for me, I think you put over Will Ospreay strong going into these dome shows,
That's true. Yeah, you got Wrestle Grand Slam coming right up.
I mean, there's definitely been times like, we can point to the most recent, situation that would be similar to this when it was Kenny and Okada and they went an hour-long draw and it raised the stature of both guys. So, I mean, I can't imagine that an hour-long draw between Shingo and Ospreay would suck or, diminish them in any way. But I'm just feeling like from a character standpoint, with you're about to go into those two domes, like I feel like you really need to have a strong champion going in. And I think that Ospreay beats Shingo again. I don't know how. I don't know what the involvement is. I'm not going to call that, but that's my prediction.
Yeah, and also too to think about something that kind of throws my hour draw out the window could be just the timing of the show. I know they've been trying to get shows done in a certain time limit because of the COVID restrictions. I know this show is not in Tokyo, but there still might be restrictions on kind of how fast they want to get the show done, and so they might not.
Yeah, they kind of got lucky in that these last couple weeks of shows were outside of Tokyo, and not really subject to the heightened state of emergency rules, but we're gonna get to it here in the news in a moment. But there's been a bunch of cancellations, and so you're right. There could be some like curfew rules and things like that for the show as well.
Yeah. So in that case, I'll just go with Ospreay getting the clean win, or just winning. He might cheat, but getting the win over Shingo.
Yep.
Well, that will bring us now.
And I'm excited because I don't think I've ever seen those guys have less than like a 4 3/4 star match.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. So
yeah,
it's
crazy.
Yeah, it should be another phenomenal matchup between those two guys. It'll be an early May match of the month contender. So should be some great stuff there. So moving on into the news, like we were talking about, as a result of the state of emergency declared across Tokyo, New Japan arrived at a decision to cancel 3 events on the Road to Wrestle Grand Slam tour. That was on May 8th, May 10th, and May 11th at Korakuen Hall. We had a question here from Reddit user The Peaky Blinder. With the Tokyo Road 2 shows being canceled due to the state of emergency, how long do you think they will leave it before making a decision on the Dome shows going forward? Also, if both Yokohama Stadium and the Dome shows being limited to 5,000 max capacity, do you think they should go ahead anyway? 5,000 in a stadium the size of Yokohama will look ridiculous. Jingu did last year, and that is half the size of Yokohama.
Yeah, so that's really bad news. Because I don't know the geography, but from what I understand, Yokohama is not necessarily in Tokyo itself, right?
Right. That's from my understanding, yeah.
But it's close enough to be subject to these rules, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, it seems like, and this goes into another news item that I found today, was a report from Live Door News reports the Japanese government has decided to extend the the limit on the number of people at events until the end of June. And so that sounds like it's across Japan, no matter what city.
Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to, like, think about it. It's like, it's just the worst timing. Like, it's just the worst timing.
Yeah.
And I hate to be this guy, but, like, I feel like you didn't necessarily have to be Nostradamus to predict this, because, I mean, they're trying to gear up for the Olympics, and I feel like maybe I'm out of pocket here, but from the outside looking in, it seems like a very real possibility. The only reason that they keep going into these states of emergency, quote unquote, is due to the fact that they're trying to, host the Olympics. And I'm not saying that public safety isn't a factor in it. It definitely is, but they seem to be being hyper vigilant due to the fact that they're about to host the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I mean, if I'm booking like stadium shows, given how business has been and everything like that, we already talked about all the other, sort of outside factors that could come into play with whether they'd even draw and everything like that, to not anticipate that maybe they might possibly change the rules, between now and then, just like they have been doing the whole time. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's naive to think that they were just on a straight positive, ascending trajectory. It's been up and down the whole time. So, like, I don't want to blame New Japan for trying something, but I also feel like maybe they should have had some sort of contingency plans in place for this, and maybe kind of expected it to some degree,
Right, yeah. I feel like maybe, waiting on later on in the year to potentially try and do a stadium show and another dome show. I guess you don't want the dome to be too close to the Wrestle Kingdom, but...
Well, we don't know the ins and outs like we've talked about. I mean, who knows what kind of deal they were getting, what kind of projections they thought that they, were set to kind of be on when it comes to this whole thing. But, I mean, doing 2 dome shows or stadium shows within, 14 days of each other back to back, with how business is going and how the creative has been, I mean, that was already, auspicious as it was.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know.
So do you think they should keep the shows, or you think they should postpone them?
I mean, I think it kind of depends on what it really means for their bottom line, because I think that at this point they would love to do a 5,000 seat show. I mean,
Right.
I think they've done close to that a few times with like Budokan and stuff. But I don't know, the optics of doing a 5,000 seat show in the Dome or in Yokohama Stadium, I mean, that's not really the best look either,
Right.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, maybe like they weren't going to do so hot anyways.
Right.
And this kind of gives them, a sort of a scapegoat. But, I mean, there is a possibility with running those types of arenas at this point might not even be worth it. You know what I mean?
Right.
They might need to audible. And I don't know how the business of renting a giant stadium works, I don't know if they're bound contractually to continue on, or what kind of, fees that they're looking at eating if they did try to cancel. So I think that's kind of really what it boils down to. But the idea that they're going to lift these restrictions between now and then, maybe they will. But you said it was like till what, August?
Till the end of June.
Yeah, I mean, if they're saying till the end of June, there's no reason to really believe that it's going to change between now and then, really.
Right.
But,
So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. New Japan has shown, like, when COVID first happened, they really just sat back and waited to really see how the situation played out before they ever started making any big cancellations. And then at that point, everything shut down. They had to cancel everything. So I expect them to kind of do the same thing here because that's sort of their MO.
Yeah, and with the Tokyo Dome, like you mentioned, that the Tokyo Dome could potentially be canceled with just how things are in Tokyo, and them having to cancel Cork and Hall shows, so they could be losing out on one of the shows in general.
Yeah.
Next question here from Tim Smith at Poindexter84 on Twitter. With the canceling of the 3 shows before Wrestle Grand Slam in Yokohama Stadium, how do you think the build for it will be? Everything rushed and laid out on Dontaku, or just a simple press conference?
Well, with them having to cancel those shows, I don't know that. I mean, are there going to be any other Road 2 shows on the docket?
Nope. It's with those shows being canceled, we're going straight to Yokohama Stadium.
So, I mean, yeah, if there was at least one show between now and then that they could jam pack with angles and set things up, then that's definitely a possibility. But at this point, I'm expecting them to kind of have to get creative and possibly do some sort of press conference situation to establish, the stories going forward.
Yeah, I think they can use Satsuma no Kuni and Dontaku to potentially maybe set some stuff up. You could have challengers walk out after title matches to set up title matches. But yeah, I think we'll get a press conference after Dontaku Night 2 for them to announce.
There might be a combination of the two as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get some setup, I think, in those shows, and then the press conference to give the full lineup of the shows after Dontaku.
Sure.
So in other news, Finjuice, they retained the Impact Tag Team titles this past weekend at the Impact Rebellion pay-per-view. The match is now up on NJPW World. We had a question from Mitch MM22. Says, since Finjuice are going to be Impact Tag Team Champions for a little while, I have a hypothetical question for you guys. If you had to choose one Impact talent to win an NJPW title as a return favor, what talent would you choose and which title? I'd go with Ace Austin as Junior Heavyweight Champ, or maybe Moose as U.S. Champ.
Oh, Jeremy, who's in Impact?
I mean, you got Josh number 2's good friend Tommy Dreamer. You got
you know what? I choose Kenny Omega, the Impact World Champion, and I'd like him to come to New Japan, and he could win the IWGP World title. Oh man.
My gosh.
No, he could hold the Never Belt. That's fine. I don't know. I don't know. Like, Chris Bay's there. I like Chris Bay.
Yeah. My boy Chris Sabin's there.
He's old, bro. I like Josh Alexander. He just won the X Division title.
Yeah, how about give Josh Alexander a strong open weight title matchup?
What about Tyson Smith?
Tyson Smith?
Yeah.
Who's Tyson Smith?
He also goes by the name Kenny Omega.
Oh, I thought you were talking about somebody else. Gotcha. Okay.
What about Zack Ryder?
That's a hard pass.
I want TJP to come to New Japan Strong, and he can face New Japan Strong member TJP. They can fight each other.
Or he could be Manic and have Manic versus TJP.
Oh, you know what I want? Fuck all this. Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace come to New Japan. She can fight all the women in New Japan, which would be like Miho Abe,
Peter. That's it.
She fights them for dominance.
I mean, if B was there, maybe we could have done Jordan versus B.
I don't know, Willie Mack. Like, honestly, there's not, like, they got good talent there, but there's not anyone that I'm, like, clamoring to see in New Japan, personally.
Right. Like if I was gonna do anything, I'd bring out any of those Impact guys probably too strong and give them like a strong open weight title match.
Bro, I would say Eddie Edwards, but like Eddie Edwards doesn't even look like Eddie Edwards anymore. Like I don't know who the fuck he is.
He's a different man now.
Yeah. I guess I would just go with Chris Bay and give him a junior title. I suppose.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I guess I could also do the same with Rich Swann, I guess. I don't know. There's not like, I mean, like I don't like Impact, so. Is there anyone that you're like clamoring for? I mean, there's really no one for me.
I would do Motor City Machine Guns, give them junior tag titles.
That's a good one, I guess. Yeah. Okay, we can move on. Dom Homie 101 asked us, with FinJuice retaining the Impact tag titles, is it possible that we see them in a winner-take-all match against whoever is the IWGP Tag Team Champion in the near future? And you know what? It's not like, yeah, it kind of sounds far-fetched, but I mean, it's not much else going on in the tag team division anyways. There is some precedent for it. We saw a winner-take-all, Ring of Honor IWGP, tag team title match, a couple years ago. So
right,
it's not impossible.
Yeah, it definitely could happen. I guess it all depends if you can get FinJuice back in the country, and also with them being the Impact champions, they're gonna have to work these Impact tapings, and so if they get back into the country, yeah, definitely they can do some kind of double title match.
Certainly.
Next thing here from the Wrestling Observer, Dave kind of gave a correction or clarification regarding the MLW television deal, where he mentioned that New Japan had talks with the same station. Dave says they were told that New Japan could have gotten the TV deal MLW got with the same terms more than 1 year ago, but that deal wasn't what they wanted for a number of reasons due to the money figure offered and the time commitment being shorter than New Japan wanted from as a commitment. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
And then in some news that's kind of in the world of New Japan, but as of right now, not really directly affecting New Japan, it was announced today that CMLL came out and announced that they have ended their working relationship with Ring of Honor.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, that feels like we're one step away from New Japan ending their relationship with the Ring of Honor.
So also, there's been a kind of this working relationship, CMLL, ROH, New Japan. It's kind of been like the little trio there, working relationships. And so a lot of issues going on in Mexico right now. Rush is starting his own promotion, Federation Wrestling. And, him and Dragon Lee, they broke away from CMLL last year and have mainly been Ring of Honor guys. And now you have a Ring of Honor talent in Matt Taven, who's going to be working Rush's promotion. And then obviously Rush and Dragon Lee and Bandito are all Ring of Honor guys announced to work for this promotion. So CMLL just not happy with that and cutting ties with Ring of Honor here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how beneficial that relationship really was anyways. And who's to say that, down the line they might not end up working together again. But, I don't know. Things seem like they're super in flux with Mexico anyways. Who the fuck knows if this Federation Wrestling thing even pans out? I remember there have been several times in the recent past where guys have tried the exact same thing. Most notably, remember Alberto Del Rio and Conan.
Yeah.
I think Conan too, both of them, they had these, high dollar, big name, debuts of companies that were coming out, and that should never really even happen. I take a look at the market in Mexico. I take a look at where the peso is.
Right.
And I take a look at all the names they have listed, and I'm like, there's no fucking way this is happening. I don't think it's happening at all, bro.
Yeah, and it might not. And so, but I know of a lot of those guys kind of leaving CMLL, and none of those guys are really working with AAA right now. They need somewhere to kind of land in Mexico. So.
Yep. Well, we'll see what happens. This week's free match of the week, Best of the Super Juniors 26 finals, the match between the Dragon Shingo Takagi and the aerial assassin Will Ospreay.
Yeah, definitely a good little primer there to get us ready for the upcoming World Heavyweight title match. So now we'll move into some questions here. First from Reddit user Asai Yojimbo says, what did you guys think of Mortal Kombat?
Oh, I thought it sucked.
I have not seen it yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away too much spoilers or anything, but I really thought it was bad. And I'm a pretty big fan of Mortal Kombat. Grew up with it, played most of the games, and I wasn't expecting it to be like Shakespeare or anything like that, but I was, or like high art. But this was so much worse than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, there's a couple things they got right. Most of the stuff I felt like they got wrong. There was a lot of down period in the middle of the movie. It was long as fuck. The acting was bad. Shang Tsung sucked. Oh, they fucked up Liu Kang. He's such a bitch. Yeah, I liked, the only thing I liked really in the movie was, I mean, the fight scenes were good and it was pretty gory. They did a really good job with the whole lore surrounding Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Everything with Scorpion and Sub-Zero was raw as fuck. Everything else in the movie, I throw it in a bin. Like, literally.
Yeah, man, I've been seeing mixed reviews. I've seen people with kind of your take and saying it sucks. I've been seeing people thinking it's awesome, so... Yeah, I will watch it at some point, and yeah, we can talk about my opinions about it later on.
I liked Godzilla and King Kong.
I haven't watched that yet either. I heard that was good also.
That one at least, like, that one is like also like, there's a lot of shit in there that I don't care about. I pretty much just cared about when they're fighting each other, but at least like, they weren't fucking up the franchise.
Right. His next question, is it even realistic for Ospreay to have a match with CM Punk in 2021?
Yeah. I think it's totally realistic. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I mean, also we've talked about Punk just has to want to do it, and then if they give him the amount of money he wants to do it, then I think it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about it before and said, like, we don't know, what kind of shape he's in and everything like that. But I mean, if he has the desire to do it and they've got the money to pay him to entice him to want to do it, like, I think it's totally realistic. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Yeah. His last question, when is Umino coming back from England? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago that Rev Pro had tweeted and mentioned out that Umino, they weren't able to get Umino out of England before the lockdown, the pandemic took full effect. So as far as we know, he's in Japan. They're just not ready to use him on New Japan shows yet, and maybe they want to send him back to England at some point. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We don't know.
Yeah. Next question here from Grunty Dodds. He says, with the passing of musical legend Shock G this past week, there's only one logical question. Who on the NJPW roster is most likely to get busy in a Burger King bathroom? My gut says Tama Tonga.
Oh my God, this is the easiest question there's ever fucking been. Do you know who do you think is the most likely person to get busy in a Burger King bathroom?
I was going to say Yujiro Takahashi.
No, bro, Taguchi.
Oh, yeah.
It's easily Taguchi, and there's no other answer.
Yeah, I guess that makes the most sense.
Yujiro's a pimp. He doesn't need to get on. He can do that from the comfort of his, Escalade.
Next question from Stale Burger Bun. He says, which wrestler's t-shirt is more likely to help me pull chicks, Master Wato's or Yoshihashi's?
God, I've seen Wato's shirt. I don't even know what Yoshihashi's shirt looks like.
I know Yoshihashi has a couple different ones. I know he has like the Headhunter one, but
bro, neither. That's a push.
Yeah, I would advise getting somebody else's. Just get a Lion Mark shirt or something. I don't know. Neither of these two guys. Next question here from Rambo and Slam Pig. He actually has 4 questions here, but he says, one of the things you always hear about Gail's booking is that he has planned things ahead. He has notebooks with 2 years of ideas, etc. My questions relate to this. So his first question, do you think it's true that Gato is a particularly detailed planner as a booker compared to others? And the follow-up to that is, if yes, has this rendered him particularly ill-equipped to deal with the uncertainty and disruption of the pandemic era? And so I do think that Gato has been a long-term planner, and you can just see that looking back at the last several years when he took over booking and just kind of the stories that he's told, several matches and rivalries that we've seen kind of play out. I mean, the whole Naito story is something that's played out over years, and so I do think that he is as detailed. He's a detailed booker. Obviously, we don't really know how. It's kind of hard to compare him to other bookers, but I mean, I feel like in this modern era, he's probably one of the most detailed bookers out there. And I do think the pandemic has thrown off his game. I'm sure there's a lot of things he had planned, and yeah, the pandemic threw him for a loop, and maybe that's the reason why we've seen some questionable decisions in the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I have no reason to doubt that Gato is an extremely detailed planner when it comes to his booking. If the reports are to be believed, he plans, the overarching story that he's trying to tell over, like, say, a 2-year period at any given moment. So, with the fact that things have been so in flux ever since the pandemic started, I would have to agree. Yes, I think that your second part of the question is probably absolutely true, and the fact that it probably has rendered him ill-equipped to deal with uncertainty and the disruption. The other thing, too, though, is maybe we're not giving him enough credit. I know a lot of people like to harp on New Japan and everything that's happened, but, there's every possibility that he's done as good or better a job than anyone else in his position might have been able to do, because the situation New Japan is facing is quite different than the ones that, say, like AEW, the UFC, WWE, or other major entertainment sports companies are kind of faced with. And so I don't know. I can't say for certain that he's not done as good of a job as he's been possibly been able to do, but it would make sense to me that if you're someone who has these orderly plans in place based on a fixed schedule, as we assume it to be, and then that schedule is in flux, the talent is in flux, who you can't get, what shows you can and can't do, what attendances you are or aren't allowed to have, what times you are or aren't allowed to run. I mean, that's a lot of uncertainty for anybody. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me why things don't seem to be as, on the up and up and chipper as they would have been, a year or two ago.
Right. Also, too, I mean, he has been doing big matches, but even trying to save some big matches for whenever you do get a full house again. I'm sure that's something he has on his mind as well.
Yeah, definitely. Couple parts more to his question. He said, are some of these big moments, like the elevation of Ibushi or Ospreay, part of the big picture plan all along, or just a course correction from Evil? I'm thinking that they are still part of the plan, because even with the idea that some of these changes and situations have caused there to be a struggle and difficulty, one thing that New Japan as a management group and, Gato as a booker has kind of shown is their, kind of stubbornness and hard-headedness, and that they try to the best of their ability not really to deviate away from whatever the plan is that they have. I'm not saying that doesn't mean that audibles have been called and things have been changed, but we really don't know. But my guess would be no, just based off of history.
Yeah. I don't think it was a course correction after Evil. We've seen with both these guys, with Ibushi, I mean, there's been reports for years the only thing that was really holding him back from going all the way was signing a contract. So once he signed a contract, it was only a matter of time before they just continued that ascension and eventually gave him the title, which they did. And with Will Ospreay, we've seen he's a guy that they have invested in as a junior heavyweight, and as he's bulked up to heavyweight, and with Kenny Omega leaving, there's definitely you saw the plan to make him one of the top Gaijin performers they had there, and so we're seeing that now. And obviously now he's the world champ, so I definitely think there were always going to be plans to elevate both those guys, regardless of whether or not Evil was a champion. And maybe it was a thing where they didn't want either of these guys to be champions in a completely empty arena era. So they threw it on a guy like Evil.
I think the whole thing with Evil was basically just what it seemed like at the time was that it was a chance to elevate a guy. And, if the reports are to be believed, they always had plans to elevate him. But I also think it was a way for them to set up a foe for Naito.
Yeah. And try to tell a story there, yeah.
I think that was the story, he was Naito's pareja, he betrayed him, and they got a new quote unquote star out of it. Who knows, long term how that's going to play out. But, for the time being, they had, a foil to Naito. And I think that's what that was really all about. And I think that was always the plan.
Yeah. Then the last part of his question, he says, if Gato's time has run its course, who would be a good candidate for the next lead booker of NJPW? What stylistic tendencies would you want to see remain the same, and what would you want to see changed?
I'm not going to really respond to most of this question. I appreciate the question, but I mean, until I'm not part of the Gato defense squad, but until we see how he's booking under normal circumstances, I have no reason to think that he is done, that his time has run its course. And I don't even know who would be a good booker style, but stylistically, I will say, I don't really think that I would like a lot to change in New Japan, but some of the things that I would like to see change is just maybe some of the formulas that they follow are just oftentimes a little too formulaic, just based off of the schedule. And in all fairness, I think Gato's done a good job kind of bucking the trend against that. We saw that in the G1 this year and with some of the other tournaments that they've done in the recent past. But generally speaking, year over year, it's not always the most difficult thing to predict what's kind of happening in the company, which has its good, but also has its bad.
Yeah, and again, it's like I don't think Gato is, cooked yet. I still think he's, a really great booker. But we all know at some point, bookers do, at some point, all great bookers kind of hit their limit on great ideas. But I don't think he's hit that limit yet. And also, it's kind of hard to know who would be a good booker until they start booking. And so, who knows? It could be a wrestler, it could be an official, a referee, or something. We don't know who they have that could potentially end up being a good booker. But as far as stylistic tendencies, I mean, I think for the most part, New Japan is pretty good as far as keeping things in ring. Obviously, I mean, personally, I would like to see less shows with the same amount of matches, same, multi-man over and over again. But I understand that they're trying to make up for lost revenue, and they have to run all these shows. But maybe if they can try to just freshen up those Road 2 shows so it's not Jado and God against Dangerous Tickers and Doki, 10 times in a row, that would be pretty nice.
Yeah, and I mean, the reliance on tags, it has its place, it makes sense, but I mean, it's not necessarily something that all major pro companies that were live touring have always done, so maybe it's not necessarily that it has to always be that way.
Right. So, last set of questions are here, come from Dom Homie 101. His first question, he says, which song by Aubrey Graham, a.k.a. Drake, describes evil?
I don't know. I don't really listen to Drake. You listen to Drake?
Not really. I mean, I've heard his songs, but I don't know them off title and one that would fit evil.
God's Plan. But instead of God's Plan, it's Gato's plan. I don't know. Marvin's Room.
Yeah, I have no
idea.
idea.
Jeremy didn't even laugh because he didn't know what the fuck that is. I don't know, man. Like I know like some like Drake, but whatever.
Yeah. His next question.
I know a lot more about Aubrey Graham, the actor from Degrassi.
Oh man.
Jimmy, he got shot.
Yeah. Oh man, Degrassi. What a wild time that was.
Bro, they got a Degrassi channel on Pluto TV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll just watch that shit. Like it's so good. Megan, like, she didn't like grow up watching that show. So like, I'll turn it on. She's like, "What the fuck is this?" So bad.
It's like one of the top like teen Nick shows.
It's one of the greatest shows ever.
His next question: with rumors of Daniel Bryan possibly exiting WWE, what would be some dream NJPW matchups that you guys would love to see? I would love to see Bryan Tanahashi run it back.
Yeah, I mean, he's not leaving. That's the problem. Like, I want to answer this question, but until he, like, I'm not gonna. We started this podcast like almost 4 years ago, and we talked about the potential of Daniel Bryan coming to New Japan all those years ago, and that shit never happened. It's never gonna happen. So, like, we don't even get the New Japan Dream matchups that are available to him in his own company right now. I want to see him and Nakamura like have an actual good, solid match. Like, fuck. So I don't know. I mean, would I love to see him wrestle Ospreay and Okada and Tanahashi? Sure, but like, I don't know. It's never happening. So like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean the options are obviously easy. They're all the top guys, like you mentioned: Tana, Shingo, Ospreay, Ishii, Sabre. I mean, all those would be great matches for him. But until he actually leaves, and it's kind of hard to get excited about the potential of dream matches, because more than likely he's just gonna re-sign and stay with the Fed.
Yeah.
Now he says it's time for fight talk. How would a prime Kimbo Slice fit into a Triller world?
Oh my God, he would have been one of the biggest draws ever. He already was one of the biggest draws ever in his prime. But the issue was, yes, MMA was a little bit more like the Wild Wild West, back in 06, 07, 08, but it was still presented so much like a serious sport. And the deal with Kimbo was like he was, fantastic at backyard fighting. But I mean, he was, and I give him all the credit in the world for trying to learn the craft and become a real fighter, but like he was a freak show fighter. That's the deal. And when you put him in there with skilled MMA guys like Roy Nelson and like Seth Petrozelli and all that, they fucked him up. Yeah. And like he needed to be fighting guys like Ken Shamrocks and Mike Tyson's and maybe not Mike Tyson's, but he needed to be fighting freak show fights against people that like he could draw with and it'd be safe for him. I think if you put him in Triller and it's marketed strictly as freak show sort of entertainment, like, man, he would have done really, really well, like, for sure. I mean, I think he had the one fight with Ray Mercer that did really well, and it wasn't even like, I don't even know who promoted that shit.
Yeah, I think he would have made a killing with the Triller model and kind of set up with these kind of big like freak fight, celebrity kind of fights that they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Next, he said, thoughts on UFC 261, thoughts on the main event and what's next for both guys. How would you guys grade the entire card? In my opinion, I felt the show was an entertaining card from top to bottom. Well, maybe not the leg injury part. I also can't wait for Usman to break Kobe's jaw again. For Masvidal, he needs to get back to basics because it seems like he forgot what brought him to the dance. Hopefully we see Masvidal versus McGregor down the road. Also, McGregor needs to help Usman. Needs to keep Usman's name out of his mouth because Usman would give him the business.
So I'll just go through this quickly. Thought the show was great. Thought it had, it was 2 hours of MMA, just top to bottom, very fluid, lots of stoppages, some unfortunate leg injuries, the Chris Weidman leg break was disgusting, but
That,
overall,
yeah, that was crazy.
show was incredible. As far as Usman and Colby, I don't know if Usman breaks Colby's jaw again. I mean, Usman's definitely stepped up his game in the striking department, especially with these last 2 wins over Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal, and it's kind of stunning. But Colby Covington, man, he's gotten better every time he's gotten in the cage too. And he went sort of life and death with this guy just a year and a half or a year ago. So to kind of act like Usman's just going to walk through him, maybe he will. But I mean, Colby's, people don't give Colby Covington the credit that he's kind of deserving. That guy's a badass. Whatever, say what you will about his character and all that. But I mean, he can scrap, like, for real. I expect Usman to beat him, but I mean, it's the fight game, bro. Anything could happen. As good as Usman looked in that fight, there's a few strikes that were just wild and kind of crazy, and until he like calmed down and threw the right.
I feel like in the first round he was throwing some wild strikes just to throw them. It's like, what are you doing, man?
Bro, I apologize. I was trying to jet through this because I forgot you even watched the shit.
Yeah, I watched this whole pay-per-view. Yeah, I thought it was a really good card. I enjoyed it. Like you mentioned, a lot of good stoppages there. 2 kind of freak leg injuries there. But yeah, the Weidman break was just that was crazy to see. Breaking the leg off the kick, and then when he tries to step back down on it, man, that was rough.
And I've always been a Rose fan, so when she fucking head kicked Zhang, like I was like ecstatic. I was running around the apartment. And then Masvidal McGregor, that'd be cool. Would McGregor get worked by Usman? Probably, but there's also probably money to be made in that fight. So, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, definitely a big matchup you could set up there for McGregor and Usman down the line. But yeah, I was impressed with Usman's performance against Masvidal. Like you mentioned, yeah, just set the striking game up, And even Masvidal said that post-match, he was expecting to wrestle more. I wasn't expecting that much of a strike game there. So, yeah, overall fun UFC card. And, yeah, good stuff. Next question, thoughts on Ryan Garcia pulling out of his next fight due to alleged mental health issues. Hopefully Ryan gets to help with the issues, but he needs to handle with kid gloves when he decides to come back. I also think it's fucked up how the media would uplift Ryan Garcia, but at the same time shit on Adrian Broner when he's going through his issues with mental health. Yeah,
I mean, it's a double standard, but at the same time, I mean, Ryan Garcia has a promotional machine behind him where he is presented as a matinee idol, and kind of like this young, sort of like fresh-faced, good kid Hispanic. And then on the other hand, you got Adrian Broner, who, puts on sort of a gangbanger, persona. He's in the hip-hop lifestyle. I'm not saying that any of that warrants him being portrayed as a bad guy, but he very often has tried to play the heel throughout his career and has, committed quite a few crimes to which he's been arrested. So, but, I think a lot of that is due to the fact that obviously he is dealing with mental health issues. And, it's one of those things, like, that stuff doesn't get, it gets stigmatized and everything like that. For instance, here's something, I don't want to like turn this into a political podcast, but, with the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin case that just came up, people were kind of talking about like that. There was talks of allegedly George Floyd had swallowed his stash just before the arrest, and people were like saying that contributed to his death possibly. And I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, well, why should someone have to swallow their stash of drugs to try and avoid, a terrible run-in with the cops, which ultimately still ends in a terrible run-in with the cops? Like, doesn't that tell you something that something's clearly wrong here? when, like, you know, if someone has to kind of take that sort of action to avoid, you know, whatever the you know, penalties would have been had he got caught with those drugs, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's because there's a stigma behind it. And then people turn around and they take a look at it and they say, like, oh, well, he was a drug user. It's like, so?
You're right. That doesn't justify what happened to him.
What does that have to do with what happened to him in any way? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking stupid. And I think people do the same thing with Adrian Brenner, you know, to a certain degree. Like, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, he's a criminal. Well, oftentimes criminals are people that have mental health disorders.
Right. His last question here: who would have given Floyd Mayweather more trouble, Felix Trinidad at 147 or Pernell Whitaker at 140? I believe Pernell would have had a bigger problem for Floyd than Trinidad would have been.
That's a tough question. Probably, I don't know, because I mean, Felix was Tito was hell for anybody at 147. Pretty much historically. I mean, I only ever really saw one guy outbox him, and that was, you know, Oscar De La Hoya, and that was at the tail end of his run at 147. So, I mean, I really don't know. But Pernell Whitaker at 140, the one thing I will say is Floyd never really looked great at 140. I mean, I remember he fought Sharmba Mitchell and Arturo Gatti, and I think DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley at 140. I could be wrong about some of those names, but I'm pretty sure he only had like 3 or 4 fights. And he never really he wasn't like at his best at that frame. I mean, yeah, he beat those guys and everything, but I remember him getting caught in one of those fights. 140 was not Floyd's best weight. I mean, it took him a few years at 147 to even grow into the frame to carry that weight. You know, he was much more comfortable at 130. Floyd's the greatest 130-pound fighter ever, historically speaking, ever. Nobody in history like beats him at 130, but at 140, I don't know. It's a tough one. You're probably right. I mean, he probably does have more trouble, but I'm just thinking from a stylistic standpoint. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, 2 defensive fighters, and I've never seen anybody out defense Floyd. You know, Floyd, the one thing Floyd has been able to do is make any other counterpuncher play his game and come forward. And I have a feeling that he probably would have been able to do that against Sweet Pea. I do not see him chasing Sweet Pea down at all. That fight would probably be boring, to be honest. But with Felix, at least I think Felix Trinidad would probably be kind of similar to the Cotto Mayweather fight. I think I've talked myself into it. I think he still has more trouble with Felix in his prime at 147. That's a fucking tough fight.
Sounds good. Yeah, I have no input on that. But let's move on to the recommended match of the week. So we have finally watched Wrestling Dontaku's 2012 Low-Key versus Prince Devitt for
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
No, I'm just playing. I watched it. So I like this match. You know, I don't know if I've watched too many of the I know I've definitely watched a lot of Low-Key's matches in New Japan, and I've seen the triple threat between him and those 2 guys in Ibushi, and I've seen some of Low-Key's fights with Ibushi as well in singles. But I don't know if I'd watched the Devitt matches. When I was watching it didn't seem familiar to me. So I know that they had like, I don't know, 3-4 matches, something like that, between like 2011, 2013. This one was good. It was kind of an interesting match because you had Low-Key out there being as stiff as hell and so athletically gifted. And then you've got Devitt being just as athletically gifted, but he's kind of hampered by, a worked injury to the ribs. They've got his ribs all taped up. And because of the onslaught of the strikes and then also the injury, he's kind of playing a baby face from underneath.
Right.
And early on in the match, they really do a lot of quick, fast, athletic stuff, and the crowd's super behind it. But then in the middle of the match, I mean, the work is good, but the crowd is pretty dead. I think some of the chemistry was a little bit off between these guys, just with the timing and the way that, not that they were botching things, but just the way that they were working the crowd. They weren't really seeming to. They were having trouble really getting the attention from the crowd, but that kind of changes. The last 7 minutes are very, very, very good, very exciting. It's about a 21, 22-minute match. Lots of near falls at the very tail end. And then, when Loki picks up the win, not surprised because I knew he was champion before, but, in the context of watching the match, there was quite a few times where I started to believe that, Prince Devitt was sort of going to eke it out. But, yeah, good match. I'd probably go 3 3/4 on this.
Yeah, really good matchup here. I feel like they were working more of traditional New Japan main event style than the junior style. I mean, there was definitely a lot of fast moving, high flying spots. You had the big table double stomp, table spot to the outside. You had Loki busting out a Phoenix Splash at one point on the match. Devitt doing his signature Tope con Hilo spot. So you definitely got your high flying and high junior spots. But I do feel like with Devitt having to sell the ribs and Loki kind of working over the ribs, it was kind of more of a traditional kind of style main event match where the heel getting a lot of heat on the babyface and the babyface having to come back. And something that I always just forget is just how over Prince Devitt was. When the crowd was getting behind him, they were really getting behind him. It just makes you think what could have been if he would have stuck around. Would he have potentially become IWGP champion because he was getting so over at the time?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but yeah, definitely enjoyed this. I thought it was an interesting match. I'm wondering if they have a better match between them. It feels like they were definitely capable of it, but I don't know if they ever delivered on that.
Yeah. That was a good little matchup to check out. So what is the recommendation for this week?
So when I say this, you're going to probably grimace at first, but trust me on this. I'm not giving you this recommendation, out of malice. This is actually heralded as one of the best New Japan matches, especially it's probably one of the most hate-filled New Japan matches. It's from April 27th, 1987. It is Masa Saito versus Antonio Inoki. I would say go into it with an open mind, but I'm not saying that the match sucks. The match is fantastic, but I just know when you see those names, you're going to think oh shit, Inoki and Saito. No, trust me. This has an 8.07 currently on Cage Match, so I'm not recommending no fuck shit. This match is fucking awesome. It has one of the most infamous and famous moments in the history of New Japan in this match. So if you've never seen it, it's kind of required viewing, but I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, this match fucking rules.
All right, awesome. We'll check that out. Saito versus Inoki. What was the year again?
April 27th, 1987. It is on World. Do not mistake it for the Island Death Match. Okay? We're not trying to watch 2-hour matches here.
All right.
And that's it. That's my recommendation.
Nice. We'll check that out, and we'll review that next week. And next week we'll also be back to review both nights of Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni, both nights of Wrestling Dontaku. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/ Facebook.com/social suplex. You can also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle group, Facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just keeping it strong style. Email me, Jeremy@socialsuplex.com. You can check out our Discord server. Link for that is in the show description. And be sure to check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Check out One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show from Scotland. The Grave Consequences Podcast with Caleb and Maserati. 8-Bit Suplex with Josh, number 2, and Sandy. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, and the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.